Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight, and welcome to the Initiative Order stream of Vaesen, A Wicked Secret. My name is Brianna. I am incredibly excited to be welcoming you all and having these awesome players at my table tonight for this game. I do want to preface this as saying this is the first time that I'll be running the system, that any of these players will have ever played the system, and please be very, very patient with us. We may have some questions throughout the way. We may not get everything right, but this is a wonderful system that Free League put a lot of time into. We'd love to do it justice, but with a little bit of leniency. Before we go ahead and get into player introductions, I would like to go ahead and give a big thank you to our sponsors for the channel. So first and foremost, Norse Foundry. If you haven't heard of them, they're fantastic dice makers, absolutely gorgeous dice. Highly recommend them. They've been so generous as to give us a 15% off code. So if you're looking for new dice, go ahead and use TIO at checkout and you'll get 15% off. Next up is Session Zero, maker of awesome D&D inspired streetwear. You can go ahead and use order at checkout for 15% off. We also have Roaming Player Gear, which is this awesome entirely tabletop setup by our own Ray, aka GotDM on Instagram. If you use Carnaby20 at checkout, you get 20% off your purchase. And finally, Mithril Armory, the purveyors and makers of the Tin D20. And we'll actually be having a giveaway of the Tin 20 at break. So if you stick around, get a code word, place it in the chat, you yourself could be an owner of a Tin 20, and they're fantastic. So I guess now that we got the sponsor stuff out of the way, I would like to go ahead and introduce all of our fantastic players for this evening. So while this may not be in the order that you're seeing on the screen, this is the order there in my Zoom window. So if you would go ahead first, Hudson.
Hey everybody, I'm Hudson Hubbard. You can follow me on Instagram at huddy.hubs. I'm one of the actors of Spot Hidden, so you can also see me on that channel also. I'm so excited to be here to play with everyone tonight. Thank you.
Perfect. And next up, how about Jess?
Hi, I'm Jess Rankin. Excuse me. On Instagram, I am at j.rancor, like Star Wars. On Twitch, I am Goblin Queen with 3 E's. There's a branding problem going on over here, but I am also very stoked about this content. So let's go.
And Em?
Hello, I'm Emily. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at EmilyErv, EMILYERV. And I'm also on Second Star to the Right, a D&D actual play show with the lovely Michael and Bree. So you can see all of us in another place all together, which is very exciting. And I'm also on the tabletop role-playing podcast, 20 Side Stories. And I am super excited for a spooky time.
Right. And speaking of another Second Star cast member, how about Michael?
Hello, my name is Michael Sinclair II. I, like Emily said, I'm in Second Star to the Right show with Emily and Bree. It's a lot of words. It's a lot of S's. Anyway, I'm also into the Motherlands, all BIPOC TTRPG show that's run by, not run by, but essentially provided by Twitch, and some other podcasts and some other shows, and I'm also a Magic the Gathering player, which something's coming out really soon on Command Zone. If you like Commander or Magic the Gathering, that's the whole thing. So yeah, so I'm a TTRPG performer / actor. I'm here to have fun, learn about this system, and have a good spooky Nordic time.
Great. And Royal.
Hey everyone, I am Lee Royal. I can be found on all social media platforms at Royalty Know Why. This is actually my first year doing tabletop games, and I'm very excited to be part of this spooky game today because I've never done anything spooky regarding any tabletops. And tomorrow, I will be partaking in Symbaroum here on the Initiative Order, so stay tuned for that.
And last but not least, Luke.
Howdy, I am Luke, and you can find me on YouTube and Instagram at NerdCraftHQ. I paint miniatures and build terrain for tabletop RPG games. You can also find me every Wednesday on the Arcanum, that is on twitch.tv/Dungeon Masters Diary. And that's a live play D&D.
Well, I am very excited to have this awesome table of players and performers here to explore Vaesen for the first time. So, without further ado, welcome to Vaesen. A Wicked Secret. Welcome back, everyone, and thank you again for joining us. So, this session starts in the mythic North. The Scandinavia as we know it of the 1920s and 30s is not where we're going to be exploring today. Instead, we are exploring a very mythic version of it. Those you see on the screen are all investigators. These are individuals who are known to have the sight. While creatures of folklore as we know it today, mainly mythical, things that are maybe whispered around a campfire, they're legends to us, but to those of the mythic North, they couldn't be more real. The Vaesen of the mythic North have been around for ages, centuries longer than humans, and only few are able to see them when they are not choosing to be seen. Those individuals are known as having the sight. Now, all of these individuals with the sight have, for one reason or another in their history, had an experience with Vaesen, and that experience has changed them to their core as who they are. They have chosen to, through one way or another, in strange circumstances for each, essentially all gather together at what's considered the headquarters. Those with the sight are able to investigate strange occurrences or violent occurrences where Vaesen are no longer peaceful. These investigators have recently received a letter. To whom it may concern, I urgently request your assistance. My name is August von Meer. I am a forest owner and industrialist and own one of the largest sawmills in northern Sweden, located here in Härnösand, where I am working to modernize this region. To this end, I am procuring heavily forested tracts of land and employing large parts of the local population in said areas. Now, some time ago, two of my employees, Mr. Gottfried Hammerstrom and his assistant Niles Lindskold, were sent to a small village called Fernsta, north of Härnösand. It is located deep in the woods, and the land was said to be highly fertile and abundant with forests. Hammerstrom was therefore responsible for ensuring a transaction between the villagers and yours truly. But now, alas, tragedy has struck. One night, poor Niles returned on horseback, wearing nothing but his nightshirt. He was in a frantic state, rambling about some evil beast he beheld in the village. Niles has not been the same since and can barely speak. Hammerstrom is missing, and I fear what may have befallen poor Gottfried. I sense that something is amiss. There is more to this place than meets the eye. Now that is why I am writing you. I would like to enlist your services in uncovering the truth about what has happened to Hammerstrom, and stopping the beast mentioned by Mr. Lindskold at any cost. You come very highly recommended, and your expertise would be invaluable in our current predicament. Should you accept this task, you will of course be richly rewarded. Please reply with utmost haste, for time is of the essence. I shall wait for you in Härnösand and explain more and arrange your trip to Fernsta. Sincerely, August von Meer. Now, after a couple days' travel, the group as you see before you has made their way over to Härnösand to meet with August von Meer. As each of you arrive at the location, why don't we go ahead and introduce who we're going to be playing today, and if you would describe your characters. If we would, let's start with Astor.
Hello, I'm Astor Halfhand. I'm 48 years old. I stand about 6'1". I have a white beard, and I have a receding hairline of white hair also. My occupation is a servant. I have served 3 bosses in my lifetime. I've recently just come back from England from my last boss. I have left him, and I'm coming back home. I'm looking for work.
Perfect. And after you step into the office, shortly behind you, Auggie?
Yes, I am Auggie Alstrom. I am 22 years young. I am probably about 5'5", perhaps 5'6" on a good day, and very tall, a little bit tall, lanky, quite awkward in presence. I have just this sort of mop of brown hair piled into the back of my head. Huge, massive magnifying glasses, and I have carrying with me a book bag filled with books, and I quite frequently have a pen and paper in my hand quite all the time, for I am a writer, and I like to seek out and find the inspiration out in the world. For I have a poem that I must write.
After Auggie steps into the office, they're followed by Father Elias.
Hello. I'm Father Elias. I stand just about 6 feet 2 inches tall. I'm a very imposing figure, tall, dressed in all black, and thin, with angular bone structure and just a very intense aura about me. I am, as you may be able to tell, a man of the cloth, and I take my work very, very seriously.
And after Father Elias steps in, shuffling off to the side of Auggie, they're followed by Kasper.
Hello, my name is Kasper Crab. I stand about 5'8", and kind of an old fella, 65 years old. I frequently am walking through the outdoors and trying to figure out weird things that ail my favorite places in nature. You see me wearing just whatever I could find that will suit my needs to travel around in. Of a good build, a build that seems to have done a lot of hiking and maybe some rough work involving chopping wood, survival, just getting along with my day. So that is what you see before you.
Perfect. And as Kasper walks in, also maybe going off to the left to give room for the last 2 members, Knick follows, and I believe a companion as well.
Yes, I am Knick. I am accompanied by my Kaiken dog. His name is Knack. So yes, together we are Knick Knack, and oftentimes it's a little fun game that we play. Nick Halverson. I am 22 years old, and I stand at a nice even 5'6". I lost my whole family at 12 years old. And ever since then, I've been, accompanying this group. Father Elias is actually the one that brought me on board to join in, recognizing that I had the sight. And not much for clothing. I wear a lot of hand-me-downs. I keep my bowler hat with me, my fingerless gloves. I have a crowbar that is attached to a string around my shoulder. And I'm just a scrappy young guy.
And as Knick walks forward and a companion of Knack running around the side, being very mindful, now being aware of the presence of other individuals and knowing where to stand to not knock anything over or cause issues for people walking forward, the last member of the group does enter Marion.
You see 5'5", very wide, probably as wide as the doorway, person. I am Marion Langtree. I'm a physician, but you can just call me Marion. Please don't call me doctor. It makes me a bit nervous. I recently got my own practitioner, but I feel like I need to go on the road and help others. I don't think that I can be stuck in one place. I just need to keep traveling.
And as Marion steps in the door, lightly latching behind you, you hear that soft lock as though, without much hesitation, the individual who welcomed you here, Mr. Von Meer, steps aside, locks the door behind you, kind of brushing off his shoes as though they're also worn, some dirt trailing in. You see a older gentleman, maybe in his 50s, broad shoulders. He's wearing very elegant clothing. It's very clear from both his name and his appearance that he is a well-to-do man, though you could tell with the way he's holding himself, his mannerisms, and maybe word of mouth from his name, that he has definitely not started with money, but has earned every penny. You see him quite stout, but with plenty of muscle. He has this large, neat mustache and very well-combed hair. But what you'll notice the most is this deep baritone voice that commands great respect. Well, thank you all for joining me today. I hope the travel was well for you, please. And he go ahead and extends his hand forward. As you see, walking into his office, there's a table set off to the side. There's some light food and beverages awaiting you, if you would choose to partake.
Grab an apple and some meat to give to Knack.
I will grab any high-calorie thing that's there, and probably tuck some away into my little suit pocket.
I'd like to imagine that there's like a bunch of little cheese on toothpicks. So I methodically take one toothpick and place it in my hand. All just the cheese, nothing else. And then I like shuffle to the back and eat my cheese.
If there's any brandy, Astor's going to pour him a glass of that, or if there's whiskey, I guess that will suffice.
You would definitely see whiskey on the table as well.
You don't want that. That's not good. Here, let me. And I pull out my physician's bag and open it up. Pull out a bottle of whiskey. This is much better, and I hand it to Astor.
Thank you. Marion, correct?
Yes.
I appreciate that.
You're welcome. It's just not very good. And I look around to see if he was listening.
You see as he was starting to walk past you, an eyebrow raises slightly, but he doesn't say anything. I will kind of glance over, make sure that everyone's partaking and that, that the spread is acceptable to the group. But he will go ahead and sit down at like this larger, kind of cushy chair that he has off to the side, also indicating there's chairs available for anyone who wants to sit and is very much welcoming. Although, if you would, I would like actually for everyone to make the first check of the night. So, let's see here. We could just go ahead and make a observation check. Now, for our listeners, if you're not familiar with Vaesen, it's a D6 system. So essentially, there's 4 different attributes that all of our investigators have, and there's different skills that branch off of those attributes. So many points in each will determine how many D6s our players are rolling, and all they need to get is a 6 to succeed. Do we have any successes? Ooh, perfect. So we have 4 players with successes, 1 with 2 successes, I believe. Oh. Did everyone succeed? No,
of course not. I'm on your show. It's not. No.
Fair. There is a theme going.
I did not succeed.
Oh, you did not.
No, I got a sad 2.
What I'm supposed to be adding, or not adding.
Oh yeah. So if you roll a 6 on any of the die of any of the D6s, that's considered a success. Did you have any 6s?
I see. Okay, so I would roll two dice for my observation, or would I roll 5 dice for my empathy?
You will roll 7 dice total because you get to account for both of them. See, we're learning new time in the stream.
Okay.
And if we get more than 1 success, does that change things?
It may, yes.
I got 4 successes.
Oh goodness.
I still got none. I didn't succeed at this at all.
Yep,
I've got 2 then.
We know what it is.
So
Astor only got 1 success.
Okay. So we have Nick, I would say at this point, when you were going around and kind of maybe picking off some of the meat and you're dropping over to Knack, he kind of started clawing at it and he dropped it and you heard him kind of scuffle around, taking your attention away momentarily. Kasper, as you're going, kind of getting into some of the finer items on the table, you notice that there's really, really nice breads over to the side, high calorie, you know, you're going to be filled with those. And as you're putting it in your pocket, you kind of shuffle, not quite hearing what's happening around you. Anyone who had just a basic success would be hearing in the distance, very, very faintly, like a scream. This doesn't sound necessarily like someone who is like in fear or calling out for help. It's mostly someone who is just yelling out almost in a rage, like being very upset no one's listening to them. With those who did get more than 1 success, you may also notice that Mr. Von Meer kind of winces, also noticing that scream, and has a look of almost like, looks very sad on his face.
I abstain from the feasting that everyone's doing, and I walk over to him and I take him by the hand and I clasp his hand in mine. And I say, "Thank you for calling us here. We need you to be honest with us, though, and disclose anything we might need to know."
And he maintains eye contact with you, kind of at a moment glances away as you hear another scream and looks back. I should be thanking everyone for coming today. As I'm sure that you did recall in my letter, my reason for asking for you all to come, I had 2 associates that were working in my stead to go attempt to purchase land over in Fernsta. Unfortunately, if you did just hear that, that was one of the associates who did return. He hasn't been in a good place since. He keeps talking about a creature that he saw, this big beast with red eyes, and we have him currently in he's over in my sawmill currently, just so he does not harm anyone else. He's not a... Oh, yes?
Does he need help?
May we speak to him?
Of course, yes. I'd be more than happy to take you to him. It's I must warn you, however, he is very volatile. If you get too close, even myself, and I've known him for years, I feel we're very trusting in one another. He still lashes out at me, and sometimes just goes into nonsensical rambling. So, if you don't mind, please do eat, please drink. I'll give you kind of the overview of what's going on, and I can definitely take you to him. I feel that there are moments of clarity, but it may quickly devolve. So, Fernsta is a important location to myself and my company. The area is very heavily forested. It's said to have incredible fertile soil. Other villages in the region warned about Fernsta. They said the people of Fernsta have the blood of God on their hands. Despite an old church being present, that there is strange occurrences in that location. But it's isolated. There's almost no contact with the outside world, and they're more or less pretty self-sufficient. But they offer up a very big opportunity for myself and my company. And now that I know that one of my trusted longtime employees is in this state and one is still missing, I can't look away regardless of business dealings.
Auggie is like furiously trying to write down like verbatim what this person is saying for reference notes, of course.
Okay. Absolutely. And being a writer, very adept at doing so. Quick hand, shorthand, anything of that nature, you could refer back to for anything that August von Meer is currently telling the group. Kind of looks over at, I guess, long term, if my goal is for getting an answer to knowing exactly what happened to Hammerstrom, I would like to have him returned if possible, if he's still there. I haven't got word back from them, but that's not entirely uncommon for that area. But if you can also take over the task of seeing my deal through, I would not complain. In fact, I would make sure you were handsomely rewarded. But I have already set up accommodations for your entire group. At home of the village head, Marta Alstrom. She's generously offered, actually, to take in your entire party. And in my favor, of course.
Thank you.
You spoke of a reward. I must ask, how much?
You see him kind of lean back a little bit as he opens up the pocket in his jacket, takes out what you could definitely tell is a checkbook. As he slides it over to you, there's like some writing on it. You see many zeros, if you will, following a number. Very handsomely rewarded for this group.
Yes, well, this will do very nicely.
I cannot accept monetary payment for my services, but whatever is given to me will be reinvested in the church.
I can respect that, Father.
I'm quite happy with whatever you're offering. It's much appreciated.
Well, are there any questions that I can answer for you moving forward, or I would be more than happy to take you to Niles as well.
So this guy that's in your office, is he restrained currently?
He is, yes.
How?
Oh, we have, as crude as this sounds, we do have him handcuffed in there currently. Onto one of the bars that's available. He still has some movement. I make sure that he's fed and provided water, of course. He still Niles every now and again, but for the most part, he devolves.
And is his scream, the screams, are they from physical pain or otherwise?
I think it may be a combination. He's definitely, he's injured. He's been scratched up. Nothing that's life-threatening, of course. We tried to get him attention as best possible, but he fights a lot. Most of the screams that you've been hearing have been just him screaming.
I'll see what I can do.
You have any personal items that he really loves?
So he unfortunately only showed up in nothing but a nightshirt on his way back. I don't know what happened to his belongings in Fernsta. But I do have that nightshirt. We have changed him, of course.
You also said that Niles spoke of the beast having red eyes. Was there anything else that he said that this creature looked like?
Big. Just big.
Well, I don't think I'm getting any younger, so I think we can give this young man a visit.
I think we should.
Yes, please lead the way towards the house of anguish, screams, cries in the night. Dare I say, soul piercing within, from being pierced with a monster. Yes, good.
Beautifully said.
Marion, do you have any more of that, what you gave to Astor?
Oh, yeah, plenty, yes. And I just hand you the bottle.
I take like 2 big swigs and hand it back.
Thank you. Thanks. So should we all?
I grab one of the whiskey bottles and I want to tuck it away in my pocket.
Are you trying to be secretive about tucking away this whiskey bottle?
No, because I feel like it's there for us. So I'm just grabbing it and I'm just walking out with it.
I too will do that.
So we're just taking the 2 whiskey bottles that were already there and just taking them with us to Niles. Perfect. Okay.
Theft is a sin, Nick. You know this.
You misinterpret, Father. I'm simply bringing it along to perhaps offer it to Niles. Maybe this tonic can calm him a bit more.
I do not look convinced. As we're walking over, I'd like to pull Marion aside and say, Doctor, I think it's best that you administer to the body while I administer to the mind in this case. I trust your expertise.
Thank you, Father. I will do my best.
And as the group makes their way outside into what essentially is a very crisp spring day, walking across, it's a short walk to get over, as you do every now and again hear kind of a random scream occurring. It definitely has that same vocal register you recognize from earlier. Every now and again it kind of shrieks, and you see Von Mayer kind of breathe in, every now and again kind of glance at the ground as though it's bothering him. Although he did have a slight chuckle during the discussion of taking whiskey. So as the group does make their way over, he will take out a key ring and unlock the door. Looking back at everyone, I would just recommend, I know that Marion and Father, you're wanting to get close to him, be very careful. I would, if it's okay with you, I would like to stand by. I am a sizable man, as he kind of like looks over at everyone, almost kind of looking down at the greater portion of the party. And I'm familiar with Niles. I can handle him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course. And he'll unlock the door, open it, and walk in. As you walk into the office of the sawmill, it's very dark, as there's currently any light on in here, but as you go further into the office, you notice the open windows casting in enough natural light where you do see Niles. Now, looking at Niles, he does not look like much. He's very thin, maybe 30 years old. You would guess the thinness is having from barely eaten recently. He has a lot of scars, scratches, left by branches and brush as he was fleeing. As he kind of stands there, you see him kind of pause, and then he looks calm, kind of gaunt cheeks, and he just sits there.
Hello, Niles. I'm Marion, and I am a physician, and this is Father Elias, and we were just hoping we could speak with you.
Can you tell us anything that you remember, Niles, about your encounter?
I see. I saw a red eyes and a big dark beast. Just big.
Did you hear anything? Smell anything?
And you start hearing him as he actually starts to have this deep guttural growl.
I cross myself and I take out a small book, leather bound, from inside my robes. Niles? Are you there?
You notice that growl starts to occasionally turn into a high-pitched screech, and you see his eyes go wider, his pupils just dilating, and his face take on this very, very clear expression of fear. He starts, just tears start welling up in his eyes.
I approach him slowly with an outstretched hand, and I attempt to put my hand on his shoulder.
Okay. So as you go and place your hand on his shoulder, is anyone else in the party doing anything at this time?
I was gonna find some place that looks kind of comfortable to just put my weight down, essentially, just to like sit. Like I figure it's like burlap sacks or whatever just an old guy trying to get comfortable because we're just standing around. And so as Father Elias goes and does that,
I be careful. I tried to help a hiker once like that, and gave me a souvenir.
and that's all I say as Father goes out to go reach.
I'm behind Father Elias in case I need to pull him away.
Astor's just kind of leaned up in the doorway of the office, just watching and listening.
Auggie would be standing next to Astor in the doorway, not very very hesitant to get any closer.
I think Marion would be adjacent to Father Elias, just like maybe a half a step back, just giving some space.
So as Father Elias does go up and everyone in their respective positions, whether keeping distance, getting comfortable, or being attentive to the state of Father Elias and Niles, as you place your hand on his shoulder, you see and feel very much so just like his entire body starts trembling. The tears start just like welling down his face and he screeches out. It's almost deafening to those who are close and those further away. You even feel like you may have to wince a little bit at just the sheer force of this sound. You mentioning anything regarding what he'd seen definitely seems to put him on edge. He starts kind of rocking back and forth as he's shaking and just bursting into uncontrollable tears.
So he lets me touch him, yes?
Yes, he is not recoiling at this time.
Okay, I keep a firm grip on him, and I say, it's all right. It's all right. You are safe now. Evil cannot triumph here. You are stronger. You are stronger than the powers that have a hold on you. You have to try. You have to try to break its hold on you. You're in there, Niles. There's still hope for you.
And as you're saying these words, he starts speaking out. It's almost like forced, as though like in between like his gasping for air and crying, he starts going, eyes. Red eyes, they stared at me. A devil's eyes, and he keeps going, a devil's eyes, a devil's eyes, a devil's eyes.
Yes. We do not have to speak about this more. He's clearly distressing you. I turn to Marion and sort of shake my head, and I say, I'm not sure what can be done.
Well, I'll make sure that he is physically okay, and then we'll just have to hope that time can be the healing factor for this poor man.
I cannot tell if it is madness that's gripped him or something that still holds on to him.
Are you prepared for the latter half, Father?
It might be the one thing I am most prepared for.
Well, I'll be here to assist however I can.
Okay. So if you would, Marion, here, as a doctor, would you refresh me on what your talent is?
The talent that I have is chief physician, so when I use medicine to treat another player or character, they can heal a total of 4 conditions as opposed to 3 conditions.
That's good to know. For future reference, maybe not necessarily applicable here. Now, when it comes to making a check with this, I would like you to make a medicine check to assess.
Yes.
That should be your precision.
Yeah, no successes there.
No successes. Okay, understood. Now, I would also like to bring to the table. You do have the ability to help one another on rolls, and it can grant an additional +1, which is an additional die to roll. If you can explain how your character would be assessing the situation and assisting, if anyone would like to do so.
Astor's had some medical training, being a servant of many different rich households, so he decides to go over and help Marion.
So now I would allow Marion, either you could roll an additional die, or if Astor would like to make a medicine check.
I will make a medicine check.
Okay.
1 second. All failures.
All failures. Okay. So while everyone is assessing the situation, even with the history of Marion as a physician and Astor having served many high-class households who would expect a certain level from those who help, it's difficult to pinpoint exactly what could be the cause or even the overall physical well-being of Niles at this time. As he's incredibly distraught, his body is very thin, and he does still appear to be hurt.
So then I approach Niles and I go, Niles, you've been through a very traumatic experience, and we brought this special tonic to help calm you down. Now all it takes is maybe 2 sips, and it should hopefully ease your pain and your tension. And I wanna try to manipulate them into taking this drink.
Okay, why don't you go ahead and make a manipulation check? So this is going to be a contested roll. It's going to be against his vigilance.
May I help?
Absolutely. How would Auggie be assisting?
Auggie watches as Knick kind of goes down to Niles and offers the whiskey, and they come up and they say, "Oh yes, of course, this tonic, absolutely, fire, water coming down your throat, easing the pain within your mind and your body. Please drink it."
And so I would give that an additional +1, an additional die roll. Do you have any successes?
Just one for me.
And contested against Niles, who did not have any vigilance successes. So he is looking still. Every now and again, he kind of glances over to the two of just approach. He's been very focused on Father Elias, who's been kind of discussing this with him so far. And while he's still shaking, he's not resisting, and he kind of glances over. You do notice that Mr. Von Mayer kind of starts stepping forward cautiously.
I'll take if he looks like he's okay with it, then since I'm right there, I'll take the bottle from Knick and I'll hold it up to his lips to help him drink, since he is handcuffed.
Yeah. So you just have currently his left hand is kind of, you would notice one of the pipes coming out of the wall is connected to this handcuff, and he's restrained to a certain extent. He does still have one hand that he's been using. He does allow you, if you're kind of gesturing over towards him, he will take a sip of it. As soon as there's the slightest amount hits his tongue, you see kind of his eyes widen a little bit, like he recognizes what this is, and takes a little sip of it, and then looks forward and it kind of starts spitting on the ground. And you hear him start to do that same guttural growl at that point. You notice that if Father Elias still have one hand on his shoulder, his rocking back and forth is starting to get much more vigorous, and that growl is starting to get much louder.
Niles.
You hear him going, eyes, eyes, eyes.
Niles. Damn it. And I hand the bottle back to Knick, and I begin to read from my Bible, my small Bible, in an attempt to see if he reacts to the scripture, if it helps.
Understood. So why don't you go ahead and make an observation check as you're reading from this and watching his reactions to the words.
2 successes.
2 successes. Okay, so as you're speaking to him, you notice that even maybe if you've taken your hand off his shoulder to hold the book steady and reading towards him, he doesn't seem to be reacting to your words so much. And in the words that you're used to maybe having said in the past, having a specific reaction from individuals, or even just in certain pauses where you would expect maybe someone to look at you, he's not paying attention whatsoever at this point. He's rocking back and forth. You notice that Von Mayer's starting to get a little bit closer as you hear his very heavy footsteps behind you.
Niles, the Lord is with you. You are strong enough to combat this. God is on your side. Have strength.
And oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I turned to Marion and just give her a knowing look, or give them a knowing look.
Niles, would it be okay if I just make sure you're not too hurt?
As you notice his rocking back and forth has continued to become more aggressive, he starts like stomping his feet on the ground repeatedly, and as he's moving back and forth, you tell that he's just tensing up at this point. I would say Marion, with prior experience as a physician for someone who may have not quite been in the best of states, you would recognize this as a point in time where he's starting to escalate pretty drastically.
This is not looking good, Father.
No.
I want to look around to see if there's any like windows or anything, if they're like closed or shuttered in. What's the status of like anything that can be open and jarred other than doors, like so that there's like windows or some natural stuff coming in?
You would notice that on what would be the west and east sides of the building, maybe 15 feet from where Niles currently is, they have them kind of centralized in the office. You do notice 2 fairly large windows. They're both closed, although you would see that there's some natural light pouring in. You don't have a need for any light sources inside.
Yeah, I'm gonna just get up and be like, whether it's correct or not,
see, what the problem is you have this young man caged in here. No windows, no access to any breathable air.
it's quite stuffy, and I'm just like, and I'm mumbling as I open these windows so that there's like some sort of like life outside other than us 6-7 individuals who are just crowding him in. So and like as that happens, just like as an old person does something that doesn't quite make sense, you need to just get this in. And I'm just like grabbing, it looks like I'm grabbing like armfuls of air and just trying to like push it into the room. That's all I'm really doing.
And when this is happening, as those armfuls of air are being ushered in, whether or not you would think that that necessarily is causing this reaction, you see Niles as he's starting to kind of rock back and forth more, and you just hear him repeatedly saying Gottfried under his breath. And afterwards it becomes louder and louder as he starts sobbing.
What about Gottfried, Niles?
And once you say Gottfried's name, his eyes look up at you and he crumbles. He starts crying, like even in a more intense state than he was before. Starts pounding his one free hand on the ground, just yelling Gottfried.
I rush up next to Father Elias, and I say, Niles, it is cathartic. Let these emotions that you are feeling out. Please describe to us what you are feeling inside.
As everyone's starting to get a bit closer to Niles at this point, you would see Mr. Von Mayer start stepping off to the side, and as he's trying to somewhat, not necessarily push anyone back, but definitely make his presence known next to Niles. He'll start leaning over towards Kasper, who seems to be the individual next to the window. Say, I'm sorry. This is all that we've gotten out of him. It's just this.
Well, it does seem that he is in not the right mind, and it only seems that we are aggravating. I think we are best served if we can maybe find his companion and maybe deliver some good news. I don't feel great being another body in here, so if anyone needs me, I'll be outside. But I'm ready to go on this journey. Provide him all the comfort you need, but I have nothing of service to give here.
I'm just going to walk out and wait outside. Not that I'm like telling anyone to do anything. This is just Kasper's just going outside and getting some fresh air and just chilling and waiting.
Astor looks at August and says, "You said earlier that Niles returned on horseback. This horse, is it still in your care?"
It's still one of my horses. Yes, it is out currently at this time. We had a delivery that needed to be made, so we utilized it. It was fine, thank goodness.
There was no strange markings or blood on the horse?
There was... Unfortunately, it seemed to be mostly Niles' blood.
And with that, Astor begins to follow Kasper outside.
I would like to do a quick glance around the room. Within that like radius of like where I would think Niles could be able to reach, is there like, has he scratched anything on a surface or any markings anywhere? Perhaps if he's written anything down?
Oh, for sure. So if you would go ahead and make, I would say this would be an investigation check.
Okay. Two successes.
Okay, so that's more than enough. As you're seeing the area around, they definitely kept a lot of the large items away from Niles, you would assume at this point, from his behavior and what August had said earlier, in a method of keeping him safe from harming himself or someone else. You notice that on the ground, there's definitely been some like small scratches, maybe where he was hitting or taking with the very, very short fingernails that he has across the surface of the ground.
But I can't distinguish any like symbols or words.
You feel confident that there's nothing there.
I turn to Knick and I say, this doesn't present the way other possessions have. I look at Marion as well and I say, I don't think there's another entity making him do this. I think this is his reaction to what he's seen, whatever horrors that may be.
I think
but I don't know how much I can help.
We must find out this Godfrey character.
Yes, agreed. Doctor, do you have any means of sedating him?
Fortunately, I don't think I do at the moment. But hopefully we can figure out what caused it, and then we can get to the root of the problem and hopefully make him feel better at the very least.
Agreed. And I step back from Niles and I make the sign of the cross over him, and I exit the building as well.
And is the remainder of the group also leaving at this time?
Yes.
I check in with August. What do you know of Godfrey?
Gottfried's been a very loyal employee of mine for a very long time. Niles has been his right-hand man for some years now. It's unlike Gottfried not to return. It's unlike him not to fulfill anything that I've given him. So, to be blunt, I am concerned.
Can I step out as well?
Yes, I turn to August and I say thank you. Thank you for letting us speak to him. I apologize on the behalf of the group for any sort of agitation that we have given him, but he does seem to have some sort of sickness of the brain, of a traumatic event, and of that I'm sorry for your friend.
And she
walk out as well.
And you would see that August nods to you, accepting any words that you've just given, and he'll look over momentarily at Niles, who's still sobbing and very emotional, very much in a distressed state. And he will follow out, closing and locking the door behind him. At this point, would the group be choosing to accept this and the pathway to Fernsta?
Yep.
Yes.
So for expediency's sake, he did also say earlier in the discussion that he was going to be providing transport to Fernsta. It will be a couple days travel. At this point, it's a very secluded location, and he has secured lodging for you at this location. So over the next couple days, it's going to be a stop at a small inn, nothing too extravagant, just taken care of. And as you start going through like this very, very forested area, you notice that there's definitely truth to the words of how isolated this location is. It's overgrown to a degree you haven't seen in your past travels. And as you get to this location, it's very, very late in the evening. You would guess it's probably close to 11, if not past, at night. You're at this well-to-do house, and a woman steps out, noticing that essentially your ride has arrived. You see a taller woman, probably about 5'7", thin frame, probably in her 40s. She has blonde hair pulled back in a very neat bun. And you would notice as soon as she says hello, her voice has this very commanding presence, not entirely unlike August von Meer. And she's, hello everyone, thank you. I believe Mr. von Meer sent you, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming. I know it's awfully late. Please do come inside. It's only going to get colder. And she goes and will open the front door. I'm Martha Kornstrom.
It's lovely to meet you, madam. Thank you for providing us with these lodgings.
Of course. I feel terrible for what's happened to Mr. von Meer's associates, and I would very much like to know what's happened and how we can prevent this in the future. But I have rooms for each of you. Although I apologize, it's misleading. Not each of you get your own room, but I have very comfortable lodgings with bunk beds, if that is okay.
Works for me.
Perfect. And she'll lead you inside. You tell us a very nice house for the area. As you were coming into the town and passing a couple smaller lodgings, also like a small storefront, and you notice that all the buildings are very notably made of wood in this location, as you may guess, because of the surroundings and the natural resources. But this house is fairly nice for what you would expect of a remote location. As she welcomes you in, she'll indicate like which rooms each of you may stay in, bunked up essentially in doubles. I apologize it's so late, but I do have some tea, if that is helpful. I have some food as well. You must be parched or famished from your trip. I know there's not a lot of places to stop on the way here.
Yes, I would, I'll take 2 of any good hearty soups you have. I'm going to finish tending to the carriage that took us here.
And I'm just gonna like place my stuff on the bunk bed and go back outside and just like kind of fix all the ends and figure out what we're taking back in or out of the carriage at that point. Just trying to wrap up the day of travel, being the one who's probably the most traveled in the group, just trying to make sure that no one else has to really worry about that. And, just give an old guy something to do. So he's like, in his thoughts. That's what I'm doing.
Kasper, can you mind taking Knack with you so that he may use the restroom while you're out there?
Sure, yeah, just come on with.
And I'll just, I'll kind of like pat my leg as to show like, hey, come over here. I'm going to get that going too. So.
Okay. As everyone, I assume, is getting their stuff brought in, Kasper going back and forth as well, Knack following and doing what dogs need to do outside. You do notice as the night wears on, everyone is definitely given food, soups, beverages as needed, and shown their respective rooms. And a very distinct bell dings at what you would assume is indicating top of the hour at midnight. Now, is anyone wanting to do anything tonight or going to get some rest for the coming day?
Astor, before he goes to bed, decides to clean his revolver that he carries in his coat pocket. And then after that, he goes to bed to get rest.
I would like to just briefly pull Marta aside and say, will you have time tomorrow to speak with us? There's information about the area that I think would be very helpful to have.
Oh yes, of course. I was planning on giving you all a tour of Fernsta. I know we're a small place, but I feel that you should be familiar with it. So I would definitely love to speak further.
Thank you. Have a pleasant evening.
You too. And she'll start going back to some of the business she was attending to in the kitchen.
Auggie lays down on their bed and probably on the top bunk because they're one of the smaller people in the group. And like sort of does the like starfish out and like sighs heavily, rolls over, sighs heavily, and just sort of like sits there and ponders and pulls out of their pocket a very shiny object. It is a scale from a mermaid, and just sort of like rubs it between their hands, gives it like a sweet little kiss goodnight, puts it back in their pocket, and then rolls over and goes to sleep.
And is anyone else doing anything prior to calling it a night?
Yep, I will be outside for right in front of the front door to this establishment or the person's house. I'll have a small little stool and I'll have my whetstone and my axe, and I'm sharpening it. Obviously it's cold out, but like old guy who's like skinny but has a gut, like shirts off out in the middle of like the cold midnight, just like sharpening his axe and just doing and sipping his tea before he goes to bed. And that's what Kasper's doing.
Okay. And you would notice
I'm
sorry, go ahead.
No.
Oh, so see, Kasper, you would also hear as kind of a last little opening of the front door, and you hear Marta's voice say, I've left a pot on if you need a refill before the end of the night, but please do get some rest.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. It's appreciated.
Get back to what I'm doing.
Perfect. And Nick, you were saying?
Yeah, Nick's just in the lounge area and he has his pocket watch out, looking at his family photo. Just kind of remembering what it was like to lose all of the family and seeing what Niles went through, just put him back in that place. And then I close it and I head back up to I knock on the door for Auggie. Mind if I take the bottom bunk?
No, yes, of course. Please, Nick.
Just so you know, Knack Knack knows exactly where I am. Just carries my scent, so he might be scratching at the door once he comes back in from hanging with Kasper, and he's pretty noisy at night. Just that's probably him now.
I could sleep through heck, you know.
Okay.
Wonderful. And as everyone is starting to get settled in for the evening, even Kasper coming in after finishing outside and having Knack also run in, closing the door behind you, starting to get to your respective area, you hear the familiar footfall of Knick specifically, as you're kind of scratching. And then suddenly you hear a strange sound from Knack. You hear Knack starting to whine, to elicit a very concerning tone that you've only heard a couple times when he's been especially frightened at something. Now, Father Elias, as you are in your respective area, getting ready, winding down, a familiar feeling washes over you. Almost a sense of dread. And you hear a voice. Are you sure you want to be here right now, Father?
You're not welcome here.
I am everywhere and nowhere. You cannot escape me. The power is here too.
God is protecting me.
God is not in these forests anymore. The blood of God is on these people's hands. You've heard it. You know it's true.
You're a liar and a deceiver.
Your heart starts beating rapidly. It's though that pressure in your chest is becoming overwhelming. You feel the tension of your head just starting to become overwhelming as you hear like this last little laugh, and the feeling is gone. As you're hearing outside the whining sounds from Knack, who seems to be in distress at this point, not hurt, but just in a very distraught state.
I myself also being distraught. Knick, take. Something's not right. And the dog's outside the door, yes?
Yes, you'd be kind of in the hallway at this point.
Okay, I go out into the hallway.
And as you open the door, Knack very quickly runs inside, and you notice that he starts going for an area that's almost like obscured, going into a corner, seeming to try to like cower for shelter. And he stays in this state for maybe another 2 minutes. And as he starts calming down, you hear the panting trail off, and his tail starts wagging again.
Do I see anything in the hallway?
Go ahead and make a observation check. Or actually, a vigilance check. My apologies. And if anyone else is also checking, you may also make a vigilance check.
Yeah, I'm also checking.
Perfect.
I got 1 success.
Just to clarify, so are we all in the same room bunking, or is it separate rooms with different bunk beds?
I would say at this point it's 2 rooms, one across from each other in the hallway, and there's remarkably like enough room for 4 in one, 4 in another. So the room semi-split party, if you will.
Okay. Astor's going to open. Astor's going to open the door from the other side and see Father. Father, what's all the commotion? I heard there's scratching and whining.
Knack seems perturbed by something. We came out to see the cause of his distress. But
The dog was in the hallway?
Yes.
And,
desperate to get into the room.
And Astor's going to look around also.
course. Now go ahead and make a vigilance check.
Vigilance check. Failure on all.
And Nick, what were your results?
Failure, but I'm also looking for Knack. I'm calling Knack right now. Knack, come here, boy. Come here.
Okay. And Knack does, as he's back in a more relatively normal state, you hear his familiar footsteps, and he comes over and you notice he's right at your legs, and if you bend over, he starts licking all over your face and your neck. Father Elias, though, you did have a success. Was that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So as you're looking out in the hallway, and feeling incredibly determined in trying to ascertain like where a threat may have been coming from, as you're looking and recalling like what you'd seen earlier in the hallway, there doesn't appear to be any change from what had been there before. There's no sounds indicating an unexpected presence. There's no visual differences to the location.
I don't see anything out of the ordinary. Nick, this is not an occurrence that happens frequently, correct?
No, any time Knack is off, there's usually a presence around.
Was Knack playing outside?
He went outside just for, to go with Kasper, and I didn't know what time he was coming back, and all I remember is hearing the scratching.
With that, Astor is going to go outside, try to get outside. Has Kasper come back to bed? Correct?
He has.
Okay. All right. Well, Astor's still going to go outside just to see if he can hear anything or see possibly the dog's tracks, actually. He wants to see if there's any tracks in the ground from the dog.
Definitely. Okay, so you go back outside. I would say this is going to be an investigation check.
Okay. One success.
As you're going outside and looking kind of at the ground for familiar paw prints that were left, you do see there was some in a direction where he was running off to one side, kind of going back to another. You see an indication, like indicating mark where he was sitting next to Kasper for a while. It just seems to be kind of like this pacing back and forth. And then eventually the trail goes right back inside the house. And you see also footprints that you would be very comfortable saying were also Kasper's.
Okay, I'm going to come back in and just relay that information back to the group that's awake and present. I only found the dog's tracks. It didn't seem like there was anything else that was disturbing the area.
There's something here. I can feel it too.
And is there anything else anyone would like to do before going to sleep?
I'm just gonna walk the length of the hallway again. How many rooms are there up on this floor?
So on this floor that you're seeing, aside from the two that you're currently occupying, there seems to be one off to the side. It's like more a small like washroom. And further down, you do notice on the left-hand side is a large door with a very ornate handle that you recognize as having been Martha's room. She had gone in there earlier.
I walk the length of the hallway, thinking quietly to myself, and then I return to the bedroom.
Okay. And as everyone slowly, or rather quickly, depending on the state, gets rest, shortly thereafter, you do find yourself to be waking up in the morning. Natural light kind of pouring in from the window and waking each of you up. You guess it's probably 7 7 or so in the morning. Comfortable bedding, good food from the night before, and as you wake up, you do hear a short rap on each of the doors, and a familiar voice from Martha. Well, good morning, everyone. If you are all already here shortly, I will be more than happy to get breakfast and be ready to show you around Fernsta. I will be downstairs, and you hear her footsteps.
Yes, Auggie wakes up and gives a big old stretch and looks out the window and recites something profound of the gentle morning dew upon they struggle for words and say Knick.
Yeah.
What's a good word for trees?
Foliage.
Foliage. I guess the morning dew upon the foliage, wafting in the breeze of the early morn. Good morning.
Yeah. Good morning.
Knack has already used the forest, so, or the foliage, as it were. I made sure of it.
Thanks, Kasper. I hate mornings.
Auggie hops out of bed. Morning person of Adam.
So much energy.
I'm already awake. I was probably awake before Marta even knocked on the door, and I've just been quietly reading from my book in bed.
And is everyone going to get their respective items together they would normally keep on their person and go downstairs?
Mm-hmm.
I slept in my clothes.
So not even really a need for getting ready, it's just up and at 'em.
And when I went and took Knack out for Knack to go use the bathroom, I used the same tree that they did. I just moved the same tree. Just
no need to washroom. Okay. So everyone is able to get up in their respective morning routines or lack thereof, make their way downstairs. You definitely smell some coffee first thing in the morning, and she also does have some light porridge out available for everyone. Now, please help yourself. I'm not much of a cook, I will admit, but I hope this will suffice. I have a very lengthy tour of Fernsta planned for you. It's not incredibly lengthy. It's a very small town, so it should only take a short time.
Astor takes a sip of his coffee and goes, this coffee is quite delightful. What kind of beans are these?
Oh, I would have to ask the Skip family, I guess. They are the only people who actually are able to source those in.
And they live around here?
Yes, they do. Wilhelmina and Dorothea.
Excellent.
Yes, your generosity causes my heart to blossom with the fire of the tonic that we gave last night. Coffee is delicious, and I dare say that I love it. Now that's a large thing for me to say, but I do.
And you see Marta look back at you, and while she's definitely being very welcoming to this entire party, and it's being very cheerful, she's a very tight-laced woman, and her face is very tight, but she is smiling at you. She said, that is very lovely. Thank you, darling.
I hope that we did not disturb you last night with the whining of the dog. Did you hear that?
Oh no, I'm afraid I'm a very heavy sleeper, so I wasn't disturbed at all.
Good.
And as she gives each of you breakfast, maybe making light conversation about some of the goings on in the town, she would say she's been here for years. Marta is very, very proudly an owner of a local sawmill, much like August von Meer, and saying how there's been a long line of family of hers living in Fernsta. She's very proud of her status in the city, or the town, I guess we should say, and very excited to be showing you all Fernsta. So as you do go step outside, is anyone doing anything in particular beforehand?
Astor does forget something upstairs in the room, and he does decide to make his way from the party and lets everybody know, I will be right with y'all. I forgot something up in my room. I'll be right with you momentarily. But he goes up the stairs and passes the room that he was staying in. He wants to go and try to see if he can get inside the kind of ornate door handle room.
Oh, okay.
He's a little snoopy, you know. He's lived in these very high class mansions, and he's heard a lot of gossip, and he's done a little bit of snooping in his days. So
interesting. I'm gonna have you go ahead and why don't you go ahead and essentially make an investigation check on this one.
Okay. Okay, 2 successes.
2 successes. Okay, so as you approach what you would know is Marta's door, you notice this very ornate door handle on it with a very distinct lock. Whether this be through a former practice or just an attempt on a whim, you're able to take a small pin out that you would have on your person and kind of lightly jiggle out the door, and you hear a click and it opens. So as you go, are you choosing to enter?
Well, first I would like to slowly kind of creak open the door and look in to see if there's anybody else in there, and if the place is clear, Astor would like to move in.
Sure. I would say no check necessary on this, as you're kind of opening it softly, especially with your prior investigation check. You're able to look in, and glancing about, you see it looks like just a very common, though very nice bedroom. Doesn't appear there's anyone in it at this time.
Okay. Astor is looking for some sort of journal or diary, maybe a log.
Absolutely. So, actually, if you don't mind, I apologize, just one moment. Just for flavor on this, could you also give me a stealth check?
Yes. Failure on all.
On all of them? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, considering you have several of your friends or acquaintances, associates downstairs speaking with Marta, you do notice your footsteps are landing pretty heavily, even though trying to be somewhat delicate about the situation. You're finding creaks in the flooring you weren't expecting. So it maybe slows you up a little bit as you're looking. However, as you go over to essentially what looks like a nice little desk off to the side, you see a drawer, and as you're going through it, it appears to be mostly just like small notes here and there, fairly like, oh, remember to do this, notes about something at the sawmill. As you open the little drawer on this dresser and you pull out what appears to be a very intentionally hidden item, I think that's a perfect time for us to take a quick break. So, everyone, thank you so much for sticking with us so far in this. I've been having a ton of fun with it, but as promised at the beginning of the session, we do have a giveaway sponsored by Mithril Armory. So now if everyone would go ahead and enter Grim in the chat, you'll be entered in for a chance to win a 1020 from Mithril Armory. And we will go ahead and announce the winner when we are back from break. So we'll be back in about 10 minutes. welcome back, everyone. Hope you enjoyed your break. We're all feeling much more refreshed and ready to get back into the Nordic spookiness. But first, we do want to find out who our winner is for our Mithril Armory 1020. So our wonderful tech producer, Danny, is working the behind-the-scenes magic to figure out who the winner is and then send it to me in Zoom chat. So then I can announce it. Oh, it is the Rizzo GP. Congratulations. So fun fact, the Rizzo GP, aka Jake, is actually a fantastic voice actor. He did the announcement trailer for our Simba Room stream, which is starting tomorrow. So very happy that you won that, Jake. Great job. But back to Vaesen. Now, as we left for the break, most of the party was downstairs with Marta, speaking light, casual conversation over breakfast and drinks. But we did have Astor, who decided to go back upstairs, down the hallway. He was successfully able to unlock the door into Marta's own quarters. And while entering there into her bedroom, he did find what appeared to be a note that was concealed in a desk. Now, as you pick up the note and are reading it, this is what you hear. Here's what you read. I am writing this in response to your previous letter regarding the developments in Fernsta. In addition to purchasing its fertile forests, the discovery of an iron deposit has made securing Fernsta a top priority. It is my understanding that most of it is located under the village church, which will have to be demolished, but I shall naturally finance the construction of a new one. With the majority of landowners on my side, this will not be a problem. Offer them whatever it takes. This deal must go through, for the most valuable ore is at stake. Now, you do recognize this handwriting, and you do see the names that it is addressed to. It's addressed to Hammerstrom and Linsfold, and it is written and signed August von Meer.
And you said this is a note or a letter?
Yes.
I'm going to take that letter and take it with me and put it in my jacket pocket.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to exit the room as slowly as I can, trying not to make as much creaking with the floorboards. And if I can, try to relock the door before I shut it closed, if that's possible. If not, just close it.
I would say because you did get that extra success when you only needed one on the investigation earlier, that you would be able to securely relock the door behind you as you exit.
Okay, excellent. And then I'm going to go back down. I'm on a second floor, right? Or is it one story?
Yeah, you're on the second floor and you just go downstairs to get to the main quarters.
All right, I'm going to go back downstairs and rejoin the group outside.
Okay. And so as everyone is now back together, you do see that Marta's quite ready to begin with the tour of Fernsta. Now, I am going to, just for reference, also drop this in our Zoom chat. It's going to be essentially a map of the village of Fernsta. Let's see here. Now, Fernsta is a very small, forested area. It's not going to be an especially long tour, as it will. As you start walking, she starts indicating from her residence, which you would see notated as number 7. This is somewhat one of the furthest residences from the majority of the town. It's close to the river it's passing through. She indicates off to her right-hand side. Oh, well, that's my sawmill. The sawmill's been in my family for generations. Pride and joy of Fernsta. But aside from that, it's not much to look at. She starts walking, as you would say, in towards town, kind of pointing off to the left-hand side. That's the Skit family residence. You do see, maybe just up ahead of us now as well, you would recognize a larger building you passed through while coming into town. That's going to be the general store. You also do have the church, and she'll point off to the left-hand side, which is up near the top of this hill. That's the church. You notice that it's the only building in the city of Fernsta, or town of Fernsta, which is not made of wood. It's made of very old stone. It appears to have been here longer than anything else in the village. And she starts walking through. She just kind of indicating off to the left and right of different locations within Fernsta. Is there anything in particular anyone is drawn to or wanting to inquire about?
I would like to take some time after you've completed your tour to speak with your local clergy.
Oh, yes, of course. That would be our priest, Ivan. Definitely. Is there anything else I can assist with before I take you to the church? No? Perfect. Well then, if you don't mind, go ahead and follow me this way. And she starts walking up towards this hill to the church, and she'll indicate this is where you should find Ivan inside. There's also the graveyard off to the right-hand side there. It's also not much to look at, but that seems to be the tour of this part of the village. I'll wait out here though, if that is okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm not expecting anybody else to come inside with me unless anybody would like to, but I would like to go inside and speak to Ivan.
Absolutely. As you go inside, is anyone following?
Astor's gonna follow.
I'll follow as well.
I just hang out at the door of the building.
Okay. And I apologize, I mispronounced Ingvar, not Ivan. Ingvar Nystrom. You do see an elderly priest as you walk in, only individual currently within the halls of the church. You see a fairly thin man, definitely lines across his face from the years, balding on top, the white hair jutting out from the sides, small glasses perched, and he's walking around, kind of looking over, almost playing with his mustache at this point. As he looks up, he says, "Oh, hello, how can I help you?"
Good morning, Father. I was wondering if we could have a discussion about the town. We're new, and there's some information that I'd like to learn.
Oh, yes, of course, please. And he'll walk forward, and if anyone has also followed, he'll also welcome them in. Yes, how can I help you?
These are my associates, Astor Halfhand and Marion Langtree. I'll cut to the chase, Father. We are here because strange things have been reported. And I will be honest, I've seen a lot in my years with the church, but I get an uneasy feeling here that is different. And I just want to know anything that you can tell us about presences, entities, spirits that dwell here that you've encountered.
That dwell here, I'm afraid I don't understand. Why don't you go ahead and make an observation check for me? Anyone who's involved in this conversation.
No successes for me.
No successes for me either.
2 successes for me.
2 successes. Okay. Now, Astor and Father Elias, as you're speaking with Ingvar, and he's looking. He looks confused and not quite certain what you're indicating, or I'm trying to lead him in the direction of. Marion, as you're listening to the cadence of his voice and like watching his mannerisms from when he first welcomes you in, it does not appear as though Ingvar is being truthful at this point, and he is skirting around the question.
Father Elias, maybe we should be more clear with our questions, or more direct. I feel like there's a bit of confusion happening.
All right. We know that there's something here, Father, to put it plainly, and Maybe you haven't experienced it, maybe you haven't heard the goings on, but there is evil here. And there is something that is wreaking havoc on the minds of men.
Now, I am very sorry if I have caused you any type of offense in how I've reacted, but to indicate evil is in my house of God.
Evil can only flourish when good men do nothing. Are you willing to swear that you know nothing of what we speak about? Are you willing to swear that in the house of God?
Make a manipulation check for me, Father.
Okay. Wait, what's that? That is 2 successes.
Okay. So, as you're going through those statements, and you see Ingvar kind of takes a moment and sputters out, it's to indicate a monster. It's Fernsta's guardian is here.
Guardian.
I don't know. I do not know anything else about it except it will do anything to protect the sacred ground.
Father, I have something you may want to take a look at. And Astor hands the note to the father and let them look upon it.
And as Ingvar's starting to read over, then you notice his facial expressions, kind of the brow furrows. He pauses and then he kind of like holds it in his hand and then kind of clasps it closer to his chest. I fear. Where did you come across this?
That's for me to know only. But it seems as though this area, this ground is very sacred, but it seems as though it's very important to some people. And if you say there's a guardian here, and perhaps this creature, beast, is guarding this area, making sure that no one tampers with it.
Is somebody tampering with this area? I'm addressing this to Astor because Marion and I have not seen the letter.
It seems as though this land wants to be acquired by the man that hired us.
When you say this land, do you mean the church?
The church and the grounds that surround it.
An interesting omission on his part.
I cannot say that with the recent visitors and the whispers about town that this is entirely surprising. I feel like yes, this is related in some way. I believe Fernsta's guardian has protected it.
How long have you been aware of this guardian?
It's been around longer than I have.
It's always been here?
And he starts kind of looking visibly uncomfortable and glancing around as though with concern of who or what may be hearing this discussion. There is I fear discussing that on these grounds is not wise, Father.
Where can we speak?
We can go outside. And he'll start walking out towards the front door where you had entered in from. As he opens the doors, I assume the rest of the party is still present out here, as is Martha at that point. They kind of make eye contact at that point, and you notice both of them somewhat tense up when looking at one another. And Ingvar steps off to the side and says, well, Marta, how can I assist you? And she kind of Let's say, I'm just showing our visitors around Fernsta. And, but I suppose you're going to be taking over this expedition, as it were. And she kind of glances around. If you all need me, you can easily find me. And she'll start walking back down towards this Interrogating town. And as Ingvar speaks with everyone, he starts walking over to kind of like the eastern side. While you're walking in that direction, can everyone make, let's see here, vigilance checks.
Three successes.
Ooh,
Two successes.
wow.
One success.
All the
One
successes?
success.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
0, because it's me.
Oh.
And Michael again. That's fine. I would say that everyone's successes and in abundance of for some. Looking around, they would notice that kind of near the graveyard, where it is just adjacent to where you're currently located, or just a little bit to the north, you see a large flock of crows in the branches overhead. As Ingvar's kind of walking around, glancing, and notably keeping an eye on Marta as she's walking away. So what can I answer out of those halls?
These are the rest of our associates. Kasper, Knick, Auggie. Astor, do you care to fill them in on what you discovered?
Yes, it seems as though we've been hired to deal with almost a land dealing of some sorts. It seems as though the man that hired us wants this land that's surrounding this church. The church has a guardian, which I believe it might be the beast or the creature.
So, Father, what can you tell us about this creature?
I don't know much about it, other than the fact that it protects these grounds. Any type of intended harm to these grounds is prevented, and I suspect with that note your associate provided, that may indicate the reason for the current missing individual.
Did you have any dealings with the missing individual, Gottfried?
I'd spoken to them briefly. Nothing too in depth. They were asking around town about people's intents for selling their property, the forest specifically.
Is the creature in the forest?
The creature is in. He kind of looks back towards the church. It's mostly here.
In town?
Yes, and the church itself.
Do you know where inside? Does it hide?
I don't know specifically where.
Do you know what would have to happen specifically for it to reveal itself? I understand it's protecting, but what does that mean?
Well, I would assume if someone were to be any type of immediate threat to the church or to commit sins in the church or around the church, that seems to be what I've been able to surmise. And Father Elias, I'm gonna have you make a specific kind of check right now. I'll have you make a learning check And this will also be with an advantage. So you can add 2 die to it, specifically for your history as a man of the cloth.
Okay. 1 success.
1 success. With the discussions over the last couple days, having originally spoken with Von Mare, Niles, now Ingvar as well, and your limited but still present experience with Vaesen, you have a suspicion as to what this guardian of Fernsta may be. With the indication that it is guarding specifically the church and protecting the church, punishing any who sin in or around the church, you believe it may be what's called a church grim. So a church grim is, with a success still. A church grim has typically been created in some form, most commonly by taking an animal and burying it, unfortunately alive, within the walls of the hallowed grounds. Once the church grim enters the service of that location, it acts as a protector of it. And that seems to be lining up in parallel with what's currently happening.
Father, you said that the guardian has been present since before you? Since before you were here, or since before you were born?
Before I was born. I know I may look fairly old, but I'm probably no much older than and he'll kind of gesture over to Kasper. This village has been around a long time.
I turn to the rest of the party and say, well, clearly I am conflicted. Had I had the opportunity to know that the plan was to tear down the house of God and the priority is finding Gottfried. But in good conscience, I cannot take steps towards the destruction of the church.
I don't know if we have to destroy the church. We just have to draw the guardian out. So perhaps...
Well, the plan is for them to tear down the church and mine beneath it. That is what our employer is planning on doing. So by assisting in this, we are assisting in his actions. You are all free to do what you like, but I cannot.
You know, we did not sign anything. We did not make anything but a verbal promise. I mean, we are not very much tethered to the morality of our employer. So I commend you, Father, for holding on to your beliefs like this. I agree with you. I think if this guardian is put into place inside this church, there's a reason for it.
Father, the town, does it have a favorable view of this guardian?
It has a fearful one.
Have people in the town been attacked by it?
Wrongly is what I would add. Were they wrongly attacked?
I can't say whether wrongly or not, but I believe so.
Is there anyone in this town who has had an encounter with it and lived to tell the tale?
I can't speak for others on that. That's beyond my scope of knowledge.
Well, at any rate, we need to find Gottfried.
And would everyone make a learning check for me?
Good success.
Oh, wow. Okay. Perfect. So, dang, nicely done. So throughout the discussion, as this has been occurring and seeing just like the wildlife around, the flock of crows from earlier, you see some of them diving down, flying off, but almost all sectioned in a very specific area. Anyone who had succeeded on that learning roll would know that that's a strange, I wouldn't say it's unusual, but the circumstances of crows flocking like that is not good. It may be feeding on something.
I guess I will look towards that direction of the crows and
well, that could mean a couple of things over there, and it's probably a good place to start looking for a start of a clue or something that might have happened to the lost member. I don't mind leading the way.
Yes, one could say this situation is a murder most foul. Okay, it's not the right time. I understand.
Well done, Auggie. Well done.
All right then. I guess we're going.
So as the group starts heading over in that direction, led by Kasper, it becomes apparent fairly quickly, although it's a bit of a distance walking over and through this uneven grounds. While it's a very old graveyard, it's not exactly super well kept. Walking over that direction, you start smelling a very putrid scent. You start noticing once you get closer to the shrubbery, you see some of the crows that were already there flying out of a fairly horrific sight. You see what appears to have once been a body, mangled, torso opposite the direction of the head, limbs in directions they should not normally be facing, and what had been pecked apart by the birds.
Marion. I mean, I'm good at finding these things. I'm not good at figuring out who they were. Do you have any ideas?
Don't know if I could tell you who they were, but I can take a look. Marion reluctantly approaches and tries to see what they can see.
So as you get closer to the body and the last few birds fly away, you start looking at the clothing and trying to make sense of what this mangled body once was. You looking at the face, it's unfortunately been pecked apart. It's not incredibly easy to identify. Do you start going through like the pockets or anything on this person?
Sure. Yeah.
So going through the pockets, big section of the pants were torn off. You find a crinkled and bloody note. As you open it, it reads, "To Mr. G. Hammerstrom, meet me at the church after dark. I have some words that may help you in your endeavor. Regards, I. Alstrom."
I read it and hand it back toward Father Elias and see if there's anything else to find.
Looking through the pockets remaining, you're seeing what was at one point some bills, monetary, that are completely torn apart and bloodied. Nothing really of identifying nature on this person.
Is there any indication of how they died?
It would be from the check earlier. I'll carry over. It looks like a very large animal or beast of some sort.
Okay. What do you make of the note?
What was the name? Who was it from again?
Alstrom.
Wait, is that the father? Sorry, I'm trying to remember.
Oh yeah, Ingvar.
I can't remember if I
Nystrom.
forgot or if just making sure.
Who is still out near kind of like the front area. He didn't accompany you further in.
The father asked him to come here. It seems, to me at least, like perhaps he is in league with the Guardian. And also, I take this moment to explain to the party as well about the church grim, and well, the father's not here, and I say they walled up who knows how many years ago, perhaps when the church was built, they walled up a live animal, and they created this. This was done on purpose. Clearly they can't control it, but the odds that at least a few of the people in the town are complicit, the odds are high.
Father Elias, perhaps then we should try to seek out this kind of burial inside the church. And instead of destroying the church, we try to remove the animal carcass, and in that way we can destroy this creature.
I agree. Although I do not think it will be pleased with us for doing that. There may be retribution.
Exactly.
I kneel over the body, and I place my hand sort of above him a little bit, and I give him his last rites. And I stand up. Well, I worry about disclosing too much to Father Ingvar. I do not know if we can trust him.
Well, Father Elias, it seems that because we have no knowledge of if this note is him or not, it could even mean that he doesn't trust us wholeheartedly to give us all information. So we should stay discreet and continue our search within the church walls.
Yes. Agreed.
Speaking of remaining discreet, can everyone make vigilance checks for me?
Uh-oh.
Three successes.
No successes.
None for me.
2 successes.
Wow. Okay. So anyone who at least had 1 success would, well, at some point in time, either maybe hear like a small crack of like a twig being stepped on, or you're glancing about during this conversation. You see a figure, maybe about probably 50 feet away from you, kind of along the forest line. Currently just standing there, kind of difficult to really get a visual on in their appearance. They see like they're wearing a cloak, and you see a bow across their back, and they're just standing there looking in your direction.
How does Knack respond to the figure?
Ooh, so Knack, because I would also assume your success would apply to Knack. Probably looking over, it's not having any type of like weird, like adverse response, but an acknowledgement of another individual nearby.
Can I raise up my camera and maybe zoom in on my camera?
Ooh, yeah, I like that. So I don't even think I need to check. I'll just do a freebie for that. So if you're looking at your camera and kind of trying to zoom in as you can, you're getting a bit of a better a view of this individual. You're seeing a young woman. She probably, you'd guess, like late teens, maybe just on the break, like 20 years old. Very fair skin, long red hair. It's in a braid, and these bright blue eyes. And she's just looking at the group with a smile on her face.
It's a girl. She's smiling.
I'll start making my way over, just like to the point where like I see this person, because I don't know, and I'm just gonna wave over. Hey there, like, are you who goes there?
You spotted me. I see. And she'll walk forward. She'll kind of like move her bow off to the side. I'm Philomena. Skit. Who are you?
Oh, my name is Kasper Crab. I'm here with a couple companions.
Oh, I don't recognize you. You're not from Fernsta, are you?
No, we're not. We're visiting.
What? And she seems very excited. She starts walking very quickly towards the group. And she's like, you're visiting from where? Where are you all from?
I mean, I'm from all over the place, so I travel a lot. There's not a place where I could say I'm from.
Oh, outside of Fernsta, and you come here, like this boring little town. I would love to be able to go outside Fernsta one day. It must be so neat, like all the different things I've heard.
You don't seem to be reacting at all to the environment. Is this a usual thing for you to see?
As the body's off somewhat to the side, she had not noticed it yet at this time. If you indicate over towards that direction, she will look.
Mm-hmm.
And her eyes widen. She starts stepping back, and she's like, I have to go home.
Oh, hold on. Whoa. You don't have to be in a panic. You don't have to rush. What's taking you back so quickly?
And she's kind of just pointing at the body.
Sure.
I'm going to step in front of the body. I'm still over there by it, and as I see her look at it and begin to be physically agitated, I step in front of it just to block her view.
Is that a person?
It is still a person. It's just not someone who's here with us. And I mean, you just mentioned nothing really exciting happens here in Fernsta. Would there be a reason why you would think anything interesting would be going on over here?
Over here? And like in Fernsta, nothing ever happens. It's a small town. It's boring. There's so many things I want to see out there, and I and she kind of keeps like trying not to look over in the direction that's now.
You don't have to look over there. If it's boring, that means you might know a couple of things, because when things tend to get boring, it's because you know everything. Have you heard anybody talking about anything going on, or something that perked your ears up just a little? If you find yourself bored with the place, you might be well known.
And she has this look on her face where she's like very clearly thinking, and like a small smile starts. I feel like my mom might be able to answer those questions better. She knows more than I do about it.
Sure. Does your mom take kindly to visitors of any kind?
Yeah, she's normally very welcoming.
Sure.
I'm sure she wouldn't mind if you'd like to go back with me.
That might sound really nice. Let me talk to my associates over here, and might be able to give you an answer right away.
I'll turn to the group and.
Well, I mean, young lady over here said that nothing like this normally happens, but the mother might know something that might happen, and so far the two people that we have spoke to seems untrustworthy, and maybe this might be someone who is not involved or connected at all. Might be someone of trust, and maybe we can get some more information that people aren't letting up on. Small town, small village, people hear things.
Good idea. Let me tell the father what we found. This body needs to be buried. And I'm just going to go I'll go with them, but I want to tell the father that there's a mangled dead body in his graveyard and that he should bury it.
Understood. As you, if the party starts walking in that direction, you have this exchange with father. He very understandably seems taken aback by the news.
Yeah, can I not insight check him, but I'm very curious to see like what his reaction to the news is.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would say go ahead and do an observation check.
1 success.
1 success. The expression that you see on his face, you very easily read as surprise, concern, and fear.
I will leave you to take care of this.
Yes.
We will likely be back later. When do you normally have services?
Typically Sundays. And you would know today is actually currently Friday, so 2 days from now. But the door is always open.
What time on Sunday?
Typically shortly after dawn. You would estimate around like 9 o'clock.
Thank you.
Of course, thank you. And he starts. He quickly goes back into the church, and as you're walking away, you see him come back out. Head over towards the area you had directed.
Okay. I catch up with the party.
And as the party is following, Wilhelmina, she is leading you back through the small little village and over to a building that you would recall Martha at one point when she's giving you this brief tour of Fernsta as being the Skip residence. As she walks in, she opens the front door for you, kind of looks like this weirdly large embellishment, and it's like welcoming everyone to walk in. As you walk in, you see it's a very nice location. It's there's this nice scent of as well as like freshly baked bread coming from an area of the house. And as you walk in, you're able to see that this is one of the not quite as nice as Martha's place, but also a very nice residence. She walks in and this is welcome to my house. It's nice. I like it. Mom, and she starts kind of raising her voice a little bit, and you hear something be set down and like cans being brushed, and just Wilhelmina, and a woman walks out into this room, and it's almost like her daughter is a spitting image of her. The woman standing in front of you just looks like a woman who's in her early 40s, but same bright blue eyes, fair skin, and red hair. Hello there. I didn't realize we were expecting guests. And she kind of indicates, please make yourself at home. Are you friends of Philomena's?
We're visitors from out of town.
Visitors. Well, it's a pleasure to have you. I believe you may have been with Marta earlier. Is that correct? I thought I saw her wandering around.
Oh yes. Lovely woman.
Yes. Yes. How can I help you all?
When she says when Auggie says lovely woman, I want to very carefully study the reaction of this other woman.
Okay, go ahead and make an observation check.
2 successes.
Okay, you see aside from the slight eyebrow raise that she gives and a slight chuckle, almost like a snort in response, you could tell this woman is not of the same opinion.
Okay.
Yes, we are all actually colleagues and associates here looking for a missing person, actually.
Oh, I believe I may have heard of that. I'm very sorry to hear that. I apologize. I don't recall their names.
That's all right. That's all right. We've also been hearing some things about a guardian of the church.
I'm sorry. I'm not familiar.
You don't know anything about a guardian who lives inside the church.
And you see her look over at Wilhelmina momentarily and just, Wilhelmina, do you think you could run down to the general store? I think I need some more flour. And Wilhelmina says, yeah, sure, I'll go ahead and do that. And she goes and gets a bag from Dorothea, her mother, and starts heading out. And Dorothea points at the chairs that are around this long table and says, please, have a seat. I think that I think a conversation is in order. I am familiar with what you're speaking of.
Wonderful, wonderful. Have you personally seen the guardian?
No, I haven't.
Do you know somebody who has?
I'd like everyone to make observation checks. And actually, just for flavor in this one, Auggie, could you make a manipulation as well?
Sure.
Got one success.
No successes on anything for me.
Okay. So, while watching her expression to Augie's questions, you tell she is on, remaining very thin-lipped, as though she's about to say something and stops. It says, it's just mainly old tales from what I've heard.
I mean, tales in places like this are essentially the same as news sometimes. So,
It is a small place.
If you can, entertain us with your tale.
Specifically concerning the origins, if you know any.
Oh yes, I love a good story. Please.
And she kind of looks over. Was there anyone who scored higher than just a single success on that original check? No? Okay, good to know. So is she kind of looking over and around? Tales of something large, something that roams around, I guess as a protector of sorts. It's been stories I would tell Wilhelmina to keep her inside at night. When she wasn't listening, but I don't know much more than that.
Tales because you needed to keep her safe inside, or?
Yes. I worry about her.
Sometimes the truth is better to keep them safe.
Do you frequent the church?
I attend. Yes, I mean, Sundays. as does most of the village.
Okay, so it's quite a popular building in town. People are devout here.
Many of us are people of God, yes.
Do you know when the church was constructed?
Oh, that must have been at least 100 years ago. That building is old. It's the oldest thing in Fernsta.
Is it? Yeah, interesting. I'm not sure if you would be able to tell us this, but we were told that this was a rather uneventful place to live, but I am curious if there are, or were ever, events in the town that were less than boring in its history. Anything cataclysmic.
And actually, would you go ahead and make a manipulation check? I'm gonna give you one extra die as well.
Wait, I did that wrong. Those 2 successes.
2, okay. So, over the course of this conversation with kind of the relating from each person, especially in discussions to Wilhelmina specifically and her safety, you've noticed that the exterior, the demeanor of Dorothea has softened a bit, and she starts kind of glancing around. You notice outside it's starting to get fairly dark at this point. The day's drug gone fairly long, and she starts kind of looking out the window, looking back in. There was a story about people who, during the founding of the church, wanted to make sure that we were protected. They wanted to make sure that the forests and our lands were abundant and fertile and welcome, more than enough to sustain us as people. There's a story of what was required of that, and that was the loss of a life, more than an animal.
The loss of whose life?
I don't know specifically who, just that it was a person. And she kind of looks outside and you can tell she's starting to appear a little bit nervous. And anytime that bell has rung, anytime since then, we lose someone the next night.
The church bell?
Yes.
The bell tower. Thank you. I understand it may not have been easy to tell us all of this, but you have helped.
Of course. And she starts kind of looking out a little bit. You hear some footsteps coming up and to the front door, and like sounds like boots are being brushed off, and the door opens and you see Wilhelmina kind of peering. She's like, "Hi, I got the flower." And as she starts walking in and closing the door behind her, kind of looking at everyone, seeing that especially her mother seems a little bit distraught at this time, and kind of looking around. Oh, is everything okay?
Yeah, certainly. Everything's fine. We are just talking about obviously some news around town. That's nothing major.
And you have everyone make vigilance checks.
No successes.
2.
None.
None, 1, none. So we got 1 with Marion and 2 with Auggie. Okay, so as both Marion and Auggie start hearing, after Kasper saying, "Oh, nothing's wrong, just discussing," you start hearing specifically, Marion, you notice that Knack, always at the feet of Knick, starts whining. His tail stops wagging and he starts like kind of even going closer and closer to Nick's legs. Auggie, you also notice this, being very familiar with Knack, especially the previous night's behavior, and you start hearing a very loud sound of footsteps outside. And immediately after you register where the sound is coming from, there is a very, very large bang against that front door. And it starts repeating. You hear scratching against it. Wilhelmina is completely caught off guard, and she runs off to the side, like completely out of sorts. You see Dorothea stand up and run over to Wilhelmina, kind of push her into the corner, and she starts going up against the door and is trying to barricade. She says, "You have to leave now. Take her with you."
Okay. And I'm just gonna grab, I guess, Wilhelmina, and it's at the front door. Do they have a back or side door at all?
You would see that if you go like kind of peering around the back, there does appear to be another doorway, and there's some windows as well along the side.
I will look at the group and start making my way towards that back door with Wilhelmina. Is the mother doing anything, or is she staying back? Is she like barricading the door? What's she doing?
She appears to be like trying to hold the door shut at this point as it's starting to open behind her.
Gotcha.
I'm going to assist her in holding the door shut.
Yeah, I'm grabbing furniture and stacking it with the door.
I go with Kasper and Philomena.
Astor's also going to go with Kasper, and he's going to go ahead and pull out that revolver just to have it at the ready.
I already have my axe out.
And as everyone is... Oh, sorry? As everyone is going in their respective directions, anyone going to assist Dorothea in trying to barricade the door while bringing items over, you notice this door is starting to get like completely obliterated by a force that seems very, very large on the outside. You're scratching occurring, and while you're able to get furniture in front of it, the movement seems to stop. As we have Kasper and whoever else is following him with Wilhelmina going out the back, you start hearing footsteps going along the back as well.
I think we're kind of locked in.
I'm gonna yell Wilhelmina and who's the Dorothea. I'm just like
just gonna yell, "Get in the middle of the house. This looks like we're making our stand right here."
And I'm just have my axe kind of like ready to take on whatever, looking at that back door, and I'm looking at the people at the other doors. And I kind of like nod to them to kind of like brace ourselves to get ready for whatever's happening.
And Dorothea, hearing this conversation, she, after seeing Knick put some of the furniture in front, she's going over to what appears to have been a really small drawer, almost hidden by another piece of furniture. She moves it, pulls it out, and there's this small book. Appears to be a journal, and she rushes over to, I would say probably Kasper after you had said that, and is like pushing this book into your hand and saying, take this, I need to stop this from happening, as she's starting to grab Philomena and move. Can everyone please make, let's see here, another vigilance check.
Failures.
Okay, so failures from Astor and Knick, Auggie, Father Elias, Kasper, and Marion all succeeded. So this large creature barrels in, bursting through what was a barricaded door. You see wood splintering out, the piece of furniture in front of it easily just thrown across the room as it does start getting in the way of both Astor and Knick. You're kind of knocked over to the side. You don't take any damage, but you see this large creature. It's almost as though it's a blur. The figures that were standing in front of you of Dorothea and Wilhelmina, you see blood splatter. You see Dorothea collapse onto the ground. Her head facing up, eyes open, throat no longer present. And in the moment, you see Philomena still looking at her mother before she suddenly is grasped by this creature who starts running towards the back door past you. Is anyone doing anything at this time?
If it's running past me, I'm just gonna try and baseball swing my axe towards the beast.
Sounds good. Okay, so I will go ahead and have, let's see here, combat. So I would say it's going to be do a close combat check.
No Michael rolls now, please. Okay, 2 successes.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so as you do go ahead, and what is the what's the damage amount for your axe?
Oh, 2.
2. Okay, good to know. So.
Oh, well, I get to roll one more dice. I think it doesn't matter. Same.
Understood. So as you go and do take a strike that it definitely hits true on the body of this beast that's barreling past you. It does. You hear a screech come from it, but it seems otherwise without issue and keeps barreling out the back. Mm-hmm. At this point, let's see, is anyone else doing anything, or is it trying to do anything with Dorothea, anything within the house?
Can I try to trip it?
Trip it? Oh, okay.
And as Augie's tripping the beast, I'm also trying to topple it on the top side.
Okay. So I would say we're gonna have this be a force check. Force. For both. And to any viewers watching, we may not be running combat entirely by the book with this. It's typical slow action, fast action, and initiative's a little bit different during this. We're playing it fast and loose right now, but there may be actual solid instances of combat later on.
No successes.
Okay. One success. Okay.
One success.
Perfect. And I apologize. Could you remind me what you were doing, Nick?
As Auggie was trying to trip the creature on the legs, I was trying to tackle up top to basically topple it over.
Oh, okay, understood. So with one half of this attempt working and the other falling just short, you find that a lot of resistance meets your body, and while it still was a single success, this creature is much larger than you. This would be a difficult check. It would require more successes. At that point, your body is pushed back. You don't take any damage, but you're definitely sent back about 5 feet as this creature barrels out of the doorway. So you stand, party, creature leaving with Philomena, the bloodied body of Dorothea on the ground, and a book in Kasper's hands.
I immediately give chase and call Knack to chase with me.
Okay. So one thing you would notice, Nick, is Knack is acting incredibly unlike himself in terms of listening to you and wanting to follow this creature. He's not wanting to pursue.
Knack, I need you. It's just like last time, buddy. We're gonna pull through this, and I'm trying to inspire Knack to find the courage.
Understood. Go ahead and make an inspiration check. One, okay, that's enough. You notice that he's very, very resistant at this time, and which is unusual for him. Even when there's been creatures that have scared him in the past, he normally will follow you, feeling like your presence is enough to kind of offset that that unease. So while very concerned, still he's starting to reluctantly follow at this point.
I lean down and I close Dorothea's eyes and say a quick prayer, and then I follow after Nick. And are we running in the direction of the church?
If you're taking chase after the beast, you do notice it's heading back towards the church, yes.
Okay. Where is the location of this book that has fallen? Does somebody have it, or Kasper, you have it? Okay. Astor looks at Kasper. Kasper, you're in the room, correct?
Yeah, I'm still in the room.
Kasper, perhaps we need to look at this book. It seems like the creature had motive to get in here and kill this lady. It didn't touch any of us, though.
I am not the most well-read, so I'm gonna pass it over to Auggie.
Oh, yes, of course. I open the book, or I look at the cover first and see what it is.
For sure. So it's like a leather-bound book. It's not necessarily like one that has a cover like title inscribed upon it. As you open it, you notice that there's like a lot of notes in it. Almost envision a traveler's journal, for lack of a better term. You see the top three most like the oldest, most well-read entries. The first one reads, "If you hear the sound of fleeing birds, snapping branches, and loud footsteps, you shall be its next victim. Pray that your fate will be swift, for staring into its infernal gaze can plunge even the purest mind into madness. Those who threaten the place of God will suffer its wrath. The spell guardian is our church grim, larger than a stag, stronger than a bear, and more agile than a lynx. It watches over God's acre. Running faster than a horse, it hunts down anyone who endangers this place. It rests at the place where the Lord's eyes are watching." As you go to the second, it reads, "East of the third great stone to the north is the entrance. Deep in the bowels of Fernsta rests its spell guardian. The path twists and turns, but at the place where the Lord's faith is based lies its resting place, like a light in the dark." And the third, "The cruel fate of the cat, baptized by fire in the name of the Lord, gave it life anew. Now it watches over this place, and it always will, sworn to be its protector. Only when its bones suffer the same fate that once brought it into existence will it perish."
I read all of these out loud to everyone, and I look up and say, "Well, we know where it's headed. We know where the entrance is."
Yes, and I think that we figured out how to destroy it, or at least release it. I don't think if we don't destroy it that way, then I don't think there's any other way to destroy it physically.
I agree. It probably can't be killed physically. And then I just turn and run towards the graveyard.
And Astor follows.
I accompany as well.
And as the group heads in that direction, moving quickly, even in the dark, following what you believe was the path of the beast, you start going towards the graveyard. As you arrive there, you don't really see anyone around. It's almost eerily quiet at this time. What are you doing?
I reference the book and find the page where it says the entrances.
By following the east of the third great stone to the north is the entrance. You start going through the graveyard and looking at some of the earlier to newer headstones that are there. But you notice that there are three very specific, distinct, like old headstones in the graveyard. As you look at the third one that's in this lineup and kind of adjust to look for the east, you start walking in that direction and you do come across eventually a tunnel that starts looking like it's going under the church.
I point and I say, "That one."
Okay, and Astor follows with a revolver in hand at the ready.
Perfect. And as you start going down into this old cave system, you notice that it's like really dark and damp in this area. You can almost feel like there's this slimy surface on the walls around you, some sections of this vary in size, being wide enough for multiple people to be passing through, to where there's sections where some of you even have to start bending over to be able to fit. These stones are very dark and smooth. Why don't you guys make a learning check?
Are those of us that gave chase also with them now at this point?
Oh yes, you would have been there earlier at this point, looking around. I would say even with the time that you gained leaving a little bit sooner, looking around, by the time you got there, it didn't really seem to have any activity around you.
Okay.
1 success.
0.
2. I got 2.
Anyone with at least 1 success would, looking at these stones that are surrounding you in this tunnel, it very clearly looks like it's made of iron ore, this massive deposit that's centralized under the church. Some of these smooth foundations are easily visible to those of you that were able to spot it with that successful learning check. You notice that there's cave walls at this point as it starts stretching out a little bit further that have strange symbols that are etched into them. And by the time you get in a little bit closer, you hear voices. And you look a little bit further ahead as a final turn, you see a light source coming, a flickering light.
Is there any like torches or anything in our nearby vicinity?
You did notice that there were a few sporadically placed. There's probably one like 5 feet off to the side from you.
All right, I'm gonna grab it, use my axe and some flint to kind of light the torch, and then use that to walk forward.
Okay. Is anyone else doing anything before heading in? Okay. So as you start heading into that direction, seeing this other light source coming from it around the corner, the first thing that you notice is this giant pentagram that's carved into the ground of this very large opening. You see 4 individuals in these large robes that have designs etched into them. You see matching the ones on the walls that are around you. They're sitting there chanting between one another. And in the center, you see Wilhelmina sitting on the ground. No one seems to have noticed you at this point.
And do we recognize any of them?
Looking at them, why don't you go ahead and make have it be an observation check? Is there, the view of their faces is slightly obscured at this point. Ooh, okay. Perfect. So anyone that had at least 1 success would notice, looking at some of the faces as you're getting glimpses of them, just very briefly as they're shifting in the light, you notice maybe not having names for a couple of them. They are passing faces that you've seen in Fernsta so far. Villagers that you walked by at some point, maybe waved at in passing. But the one you do very clearly recognize, which is the furthest away from you, standing immediately above, like next to, but looking down at Wilhelmina, is Martha.
I guess I have my axe and my torch, and I look at the rest of the group, and then I look at them, and I'm just gonna hit them with that Ben solo of like, and then I guess like, I don't know, Wilhelmina's right there, so get to swinging my axe or something.
As you're kind of having that moment of looking at the party and kind of like, what are we gonna do here? You hear Marta start speaking above the chanting, and her voice rings out, that same commanding presence, almost a little bit deeper than before, as she says, "We, the free ones, have sworn a blood oath to honor nature in the name of the Lord. This has given us everything worth having and allowed Fernsta to prosper. It is the most precious thing we have, but now others are trying to take it from us. We have survived so much, but now our greatest threat comes not from without, but from within. from those who would destroy the house of God and its protector in pursuit of profit. I understand that many of you have doubted our fate or worth, turned traitors against this village, and we all stand for as members of the Free Ones. That is why I have summoned you here. Tonight, each of you will prove once and for all whether you are believers or not. And the time has come to present our offering to the divine. Bring forth the sacrifice. As one of the individuals start pushing Philomena closer to Marta.
I'm going to dash in there and try to grab Philomena.
Okay, so this is kind of I would say let's go ahead and have you make a agility check.
I follow, but not to grab, but more of like just having Father Elias's back, like getting in there and being in a guarded position.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what I'm trying to do actually, because if I know Nick is there, is I'm trying to grab her and give her to Nick.
Okay.
Because I have choice words for these people.
And Astor also goes in, and he is holding the gun up at these individuals just to make sure that they understand that this is a serious situation.
Understood.
I'm about to toss my torch at that Mirna lady.
I did not succeed that agility roll.
Okay. And Nick, did you also make an agility roll by chance? Okay, 1. Perfect. And Astor, I would just say, actually, you just walking in there and holding up the gun, that's fine. I would say we don't need a check for that. That's kind of free action at that point. But as you're starting to run in, Elias, you are so overcome with emotion, with these thoughts of the people who are abusing the word of the Lord that you know. And while you're running in forward, an individual kind of glances over their shoulder, one of the robed individuals, and as they start turning, like slightly hit your arm with theirs, and it causes you to stumble forward into the center. Nick, you're immediately behind Father Elias, and while you're still standing up, you are now also in the center. And with that, I think that we should actually get initiative. So initiative is handled a little bit differently in Vaesen, and it is not determined by a die roll, it's determined by the draw of a playing card. Now, since we're not in person, I would really love to just have you each choose a card, but I don't have that luxury right now. So I have created just my own playing cards with everyone's name on them and numbered enemies. So at this point, I'm going to be drawing, and how I'm drawing it is in the order of who's going to go. So mixing it up, I promise. They're shuffling at this point, but first one is going to be, okay, so it's actually going to be one of the enemies, followed by Marta, followed by Elias. Father Elias, you'll be third in this. Auggie, you'll be fourth. Kasper, you'll be fifth. Astor, you'll be sixth. Oh my gosh, Marion, seventh. I don't think I shuffled very well. Nick, eighth. And then the remaining are the enemies. So we now have our initiative determined. There is an additional function in this I would like to present. At the top of the round before we actually get into combat, you do have the ability to choose to swap initiative with any of your party members if both parties agree to it. If there's anyone that would like to propose swapping at this point.
Yeah, actually, I think somebody should probably swap with me, who's got a weapon. Yeah, who's closer? I think maybe Kasper.
Yeah, it's either me or Astor, so.
Yeah, I mean, if either of you feel like
I'll be up front, because like
yeah.
Astor doesn't need to be up front if he's
yes.
gotta.
Okay, yeah, then we can switch. What number were you?
I was fifth.
Yes.
Fifth. Okay, so now you're third.
Sweet.
And I wouldn't mind swapping with Astor if Astor doesn't mind.
Yeah. What number are you?
I was fourth.
Fourth. Okay. You're sixth now.
Great.
6.
Perfect. Okay, so now that we have our initiative determined, we are going to have essentially the actions that will follow. So this is a standard fast action, slow action. Everyone will get 2 actions essentially in a turn. If you want to use a reaction of any kind, which are specified on the skills kind of quick reference that I'd sent you, some of these are fast actions you would have to hold to utilize as a reaction. However, the enemies that are currently standing before you are going to be taking actions moving forward. So the first one was the individual who had just essentially knocked Father Elias out of his path of running. And he's going to turn around and attempt to, as you see, not holding any weapons on him at this time, is going to try to just punch at Father Elias, who was the closest individual to him at this point.
Can I use my reaction to parry?
Ooh, yes. Okay. So you definitely can. I'm going to have you do a close combat check. A force check as you are unarmed.
Great. Oh, fuck yeah. Sorry. I got a success.
That's perfect. Well, and he also did not succeed. So, yeah, at this point, even though being just on this like hard stone floor and almost like a wind knocked out of you as you've fallen down, you glance up and just out the corner of your eye, see this individual coming down with a fist, and you're able to move quickly out of the way as he stumbles now down towards the ground. With that, he is also going to take his fast action to stand back up from having been on the ground next to you. Next up is going to be Marta. Now, one thing that is different about her is the fact that she does have a blade on her. So the individual that is closest to her currently is going to be either Father Elias or Knick. Right now, Knick is actually probably the biggest threat, so she's going to be starting to move forward, pushing Wilhelmina behind her from her, and she's going to be moving towards with her blade and try to take an attack at you.
I would also like to use my fast action to parry.
Perfect. Okay, and you are armed, correct?
Yes, I have a crowbar.
Okay, perfect. I would have close combat checks. Two successes. Okay, so as she was going in, as she also had rolled 2 successes, every single success that you rolled on your parry deducts one of hers, so you've caused her attack at this point to miss. Very adept, almost expecting her move, and she's coming in with this dagger, and having your crowbar at the ready, you knock her wrist right out of the way, and you hear like this grunt from her, as she could tell that definitely hurt and was unexpected on her end. And next up is going to be Kasper. So,
Wilhelmina, is anyone else like close to Wilhelmina or is grabbing her? Because I know that you just mentioned Marta was. Is anyone else doing that currently?
It seems Marta's the closest to her at this time, and she's kind of placed herself between your party and Wilhelmina.
While she was looking at her hand that got parried away, I'm going to use my axe because she's distracted to try and chop her like wrist arm away.
Ooh, okay. Go ahead and make a. Are you going to be moving up to her?
Yeah,
or are you going to
yeah.
Okay. Perfect. So go ahead and make a close combat check.
All right. That is 3 successes.
3 successes. Okay. And she's going to attempt to parry because she had not used her fast action. You only have 2 successes, but that is still 2 successes. So with 2 successes on this, you're essentially going to be implementing 2 conditions against her. And given this is a physical attack, I am going to be saying that she is, let's see, definitely exhausted and battered. That strike that you go at her forearm with that axe cuts through clean. You hear her gasp out as blood's gushing out. You see her start grabbing at her arm. She drops the dagger that was in it, and she is grasping at it, now suffering those 2 conditions.
I'm gonna say, while her arm's bleeding, it serves you right, your tea was shit. And I'll pass my turn.
And next up is Astor.
Okay, so quick question. On my revolver, it says that I have a bonus of +1. So does that mean I add 1 dice to it?
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, so are any of the cloaked individuals close to me in kind of the zone 1, so I'm able to fire the revolver?
Yes, within these quarters, everyone's going to be considered zone 1.
Okay, perfect. So whichever individual, one of the cloaked enemies that's in front of me, but not really near any of my compatriots, I'd like to fire at.
Absolutely. Go ahead and make a ranged combat check.
Okay. We got 1 success.
Okay. I'll attempt to dodge. And they will not. So what is the damage on?
That is 2 points of damage.
Points. So they are also going to be suffering 2 conditions, which I'm going to say are physical conditions. As you aim your revolver, you hear this resounding blast, and everyone kind of taken aback by the echo within this close quarter. As this individual kind of falls over to the ground, grasping at their shoulder, which is now bleeding out. Anything else?
No, I believe I'm gonna end my turn right there.
Perfect. Next up is Elias.
Okay, so nobody has Wilhelmina now, correct? Okay. I'm just going to grab her by the arm, and I'm going to tell her to wait up in the tunnel.
Okay, understood.
And then can I grab the dagger out of Marta's severed hand?
Ooh, I would say, well, actually, her hand isn't completely severed. It's still on there. There's a very, very big gash to her forearm that she's holding on to. One of the daggers that was on her person is now on the ground that she was holding. So I would say that if you're using your fast action to talk to Wilhelmina, you can use your slow action in order to go and grab that dagger.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
Okay.
And you can tell me no, but in that moment, does it look like it's a ceremonial dagger? Does it just look like a normal dagger?
It looks ceremonial, yes.
Okay. Then that's my turn.
Perfect. And now, having given those instructions to Wilhelmina, I realized I did not give her initiative in this, so I was going to say she'll probably take initiative at the end of this round. But she's listening to you, looking incredibly, incredibly terrified at this point. What's happened within the last 15 minutes alone. She sees you going forward. You see her starting to somewhat move off to the side, following your instructions. But now you are next to Marta and some of the other robed individuals and your allies. But next up is going to be Auggie.
Is it possible to use my turn to move Philomena to the back of the tunnel?
Ooh, okay, let's see here. So I would say, why don't you go ahead and make a agility check for this? But yeah, I'll consider this your slow action.
Okay. May I push the roll?
Yes, you may. So you realize that as you push your roll, you will suffer a condition as a result. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Nope, still failed.
Oh, okay. So as you're going over to help Wilhelmina and start steering her in the direction, The skill check was more so to kind of gauge the distance that you successfully take her. She's still going in that direction. You're able to get over her and start moving her. You move about maybe 10 feet in the total distance. And as you're kind of looking over, you're starting to feel like your heart's starting to race, your blood pressure is rising, and you start to feel a little bit dizzy. I'm going to say that the condition that you are suffering right now is frightened.
Oh yeah, that's on brand for sure.
And you have a fast action too.
Okay, so in that case, I'm going to. Is there any cover around, or?
So most of this area appears to be just kind of like the stone walls around you. The closest thing to cover that you would be able to find is as you're about to just like getting out into that hallway, it twists off to the side, just a little bit of a turn. That'd be probably the closest thing to cover that you'd be able to see.
Okay, I move my body there. That's my prediction.
Understood. So Wilhelmina will be by herself. You take that movement to move zones. Is that okay?
Oh no, then I'll just use my fast action to like put my body around, like to cover her.
Oh, understood. So if at any point in time, we can essentially say it's going to be a reaction if any type of harm is going towards Wilhelmina. Awesome. Okay, sounds good. And next up is going to be Marion.
So I think I will use my fast action to position myself in the hallway between Auggie, Wilhelmina, and the rest of the like ritual situation.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want to use my slow action to try and survey the situation and sort of see if there's any particular thing that I can point out or any particular person that might be chanting or something to like stop what's happening at the moment.
Understood. Go ahead and make a vigilance check.
Okay. That is one success.
Perfect. So as you have taken some movement to go ahead and place yourself strategically between some party members and this threat, and watching everything, the reactions to these other individuals, you're seeing that while there was still like a slight like soft, just almost feels like methodical, like by habit chant that was coming from a few of them, all the people that are in here currently seem concerned. They seem like they were caught like off guard. They're surprised at this point. A few of them are looking specifically at Marta, who appeared to have been bleeding, and her state currently very much bleeding out.
Okay, cool. That'll be my turn then. Thank you.
And next up is Nick.
Okay, seeing that my friend Auggie is in the frightened state, I would like to inspire to help clear this condition by saying, Auggie, that was great. You got to keep it up. Don't lose faith in your activities.
Hyperventilating.
I love it. So is that one of your talents, or is it like a inspiration check, I believe?
It would be a check, yes.
Inspiration check, perfect. We're all learning.
Nothing.
Okay. So while Auggie, you are hearing Nick giving you these like very confident, complimentary words, saying like a resounding, "You're doing wonderful. Just keep doing that." You still feel this gnawing feeling in the back of your head as your breathing is becoming very rapid.
And would that be one of my slow actions? Is that or a fast action?
I would consider that, because there was a check made, to be a slow action.
Okay. Then I would like to hold on to my fast action.
Perfect. Will do. Next up is going to be some of these enemies. So the individual that just got shot by Astor is going to be using some of their essentially fast action to stand up from the kneeling position they were in, turning around and seeing specifically Astor, who I just shot at them. He's going to be running towards you, attempting to tackle. So this is actually going to be a contested check. Let's say it's going to be physique.
Okay, so is there a way I could dodge? Or am I need to roll a physique?
Yeah, you'll have to roll a physique.
Okay. Failure on all.
Okay. So with one success, as you're looking at this individual standing up almost with this like concerning amount of vigor, like complete hatred in his eyes as he barrels towards you, holding your shotgun still in your hand, and your revolver still in your hand, and his body just meets against yours. You feel like the wind knocked out of you as you're taken to the ground. At this point, you're not going to suffer any conditions from that. It's mostly you're now laying on the ground and considered grappled.
Okay. And I just realized that we're not playing Call of Cthulhu, so there's no reason for me to make a dodge.
Yeah. All the systems. Hey,
I know.
Fine. And next up is going to be the other enemy who's remaining, the one who seems to be almost like still rhythmically chanting and confused, but they're going to be looking towards Marta and going over towards her and attempting to, let's see. You see them trying to position themselves between anyone else who's nearby at this point and Marta. So they're essentially just putting themselves in as a human shield. That's going to bring us back to top of the round, which is the first robed individual who's going to move forward, because the closest individual still near him is going to be Knick. So he's going to be going forward towards you, and also unarmed, he is going to be attempting to strike you. Just going to be a close combat.
And I'm also going to parry.
Okay.
And on the cheat sheet you gave, you said parry is close combat / force. So
yes.
Could I opt to use force instead?
Yeah, so if you're going to be utilizing force, it just means that you're not going to be using your weapon in any way during it.
Then I'm using my weapon to parry. How dare you?
Perfect. Two successes, and considering I had one, that was more than enough needed as they start going towards you and breathing heavily because they were also taken off guard. As they swing down, you're able to move very quickly out of the way, and you have your crowbar and put it up instinctually to where you hear it, just the impact on their knuckles as there's cracks in their hand. And nothing hits you. So next up is going to be Kasper.
So now there's a person between me and Marta, right?
Yes, there is.
I hate it. Okay, well, if they're going to be in the way, they get to be what they want to be, which is a human shield, and I will take my axe and swing it at their chest.
Okay. Go ahead and make a close combat.
All right. Holy, okay. Yeah, that's seven. That's 7 dice with no successes. Can I push it? I'll push it.
You can definitely push it. No,
Let's do it.
Okay.
All right, that's 2 successes.
2 successes. Okay, and with that, as you're striking down with your axe, you bring it right into the side of this person. You hear them cry out in pain. As you pull out, you feel those, they start like almost falling limp over to the side, and they now are suffering 2 conditions as well. However, as you're pulling the axe out, you start feeling like this heaviness in your arm, and something that's worn on you throughout the years, this pain deep in the bones, and you're going to be considered exhausted at this point.
Oh yeah, the old bones. I mean, old man strength has, there's a negative part to it, and I just did it, so there you go.
And is there anything else for your turn?
No, I'm trying to save my reactions because I'm in the thick of it, so I'm good.
Totally fair. So next up is going to be Astor. You are now knocked onto the ground with a robed individual trying to grapple.
So do I need to break free, or are my arms and hands free to make a move, or?
Yes. So when you're grappled, essentially, I would consider it a force check to break free of it.
Okay. So I'll do that, and that would be a fast action.
This will be a reaction.
Reaction. Right.
It'll be a fast action, yeah.
Got one success.
One success, and that is enough. So as this figure's on top of you, and while there was a lot of force and you're briefly winded, you're able to, using the strength in your upper body, just push him off, and he kind of falls off to the side as you're able to stand up.
Okay, and I would like to pull that revolver back in front of this person and fire it again.
Okay. Go ahead and make a... We're going to consider this ranged combat, even though you're right next to it.
Okay. And it was all failures.
All failures. Okay. So as I would say, as you're getting up and you're incredibly just like angry at this point, looking at this individual, you lose your balance momentarily as there's a little bit more recoil than you expect as you fire off, and you hear just a ricochet at that point. Did not strike him. Next up is going to be Elias.
Okay. So do I choose violence today? We'll find out. Okay, so who's closest to me at this point? Who's not already suffering many conditions of the enemy?
Okay, so let's say actually all the enemies that are nearby you right now are currently suffering conditions. You have the individual who you'd initially bumped past, a person who's now standing in front of Marta, and Marta herself, all within zone 1 of you.
Okay.
Father, it's your job to end their suffering. I believe in you.
Man. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I'm having like an actual moral dilemma here, with doing the murder thing.
Father, it is not your place to do this. You brought me along. You brought me along because you know that I am very violent and I have hostility in my heart. So should you choose to take the little one and run, leave me here and I will handle the rest.
Yeah, okay. So seeing that Auggie is having a bad time over by Wilhelmina, I'm going to attempt to make my way over there and take the both of them up the tunnel a bit more.
Absolutely. So I would consider, in order to do that, it would be both your slow and your fast action.
Okay. Can I also talk to Auggie, though, once I make it there as part of this?
Yeah, that could be part of the fast action.
Okay, great. So I'm gonna dash over to them and say, come quickly, farther up the tunnel. And noticing that Auggie is having a bad time, I'm going to say, the sacrament of confession can cleanse your mind. If you take that time with me now, I believe I can help you. And if Auggie chooses to do that, I will be able to heal that condition. And that's my turn.
And this is very appropriate. Auggie, it's your turn.
Yes, I think once Father Elias says that, Auggie tries to take a deep breath and can't quite catch their breath and says, I've never had to fight anybody before. This is new. It's scary. I don't like it. I don't know what to do. Help me.
And if that counts, then your condition is healed. But
I'm saved. Yeah, so I'll say that, and yeah, I suddenly, like, once all those words come out of my mouth, I take a big deep breath, clears my mind a little bit. Question for Kasper: did you drop the torch, or are you still holding it?
I guess I'm still holding it, but because I never dropped it.
Okay, that's okay. That's just a question. I guess for my slow action, I think I would like to look and observe the room and see if I see any bones.
Ooh, okay. So why don't you go ahead and make a, because it's not quite surveying the situation, what applies is that I'll let you give a choice between surveying the situation as a vigilance check, or I'll also accept an investigation check for this.
Okay, I'm gonna do investigation. One success.
So while you're glancing around, like this moment of clarity after speaking with Father Elias, and your heart rate starts evening out, you're breathing more regular. You're looking around, you're not necessarily seeing bones. You do, however, see on a wall, just maybe 10 feet away from you, some of the stones that are making up this wall. One appears to be further out than the others.
Okay. Am I out of actions?
Let's see. With that, you use your fast action to essentially confess to get rid of that condition. Your slow action to survey. I say yes. Those are both your actions.
Okay.
And next up is going to be Marion.
So, seeing as they have sort of gotten out of the zone of danger, I suppose, I will, I guess, hold the fast action. Or no. I will use the fast action to move in a bit closer and maybe try. Is there any way I can do some kind of like distraction or something? So that somebody, is that possible to do some kind of distraction for the enemy?
Yeah, I like that. Why don't we go ahead and have it be a manipulation check?
Okay. Let's see. Hoping. No successes on that one.
Okay. So
I think that would be it, though. Probably, right? I'd imagine the distraction would be like the slow action.
Yeah, I would consider that a slow action.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, so you are kind of like attempting to get the attention of the others at this point. They seem to be very wrapped up in their current predicaments. Mm-hmm. Next up is going to be Knick.
So now that Father Elias is no longer within the center, I take off my hat. I look at that first person and say, "A wise man once said, evil only flourish when good men do nothing." Slowly put my hat back on. I grab my crowbar super tight and I says, "Unfortunately for you, I'm a great man." And I take a swing right towards his head.
Okay, let's do close combat, and I would like to give you inspiration for that. So roll an additional die. Perfect. And so the individual who is closest to you, as you are looking at them, and just to clarify, is this the individual that initially bumped into Father Elias, or the individual who's currently in front of Martha?
The one in front of Martha.
Okay, so as you look at him, and there's this look on his face where he is just almost momentarily confused, just like this moment of fright. As soon as your crowbar strikes across, you hear his neck snap and his collapses to the ground, unmoving. And is there anything else you'd like to do?
I'm holding my fast.
Okay. And next up is going to be the enemy who is currently was just shot at by Astor is going to utilize his fast action to stand up from the ground, and he is going to attempt to take an unarmed attack against you. Force.
So there's no way I can like parry or dodge.
Parry or dodge? I don't. Did you? I think you utilized your fast action.
Okay.
In order to stand up last.
Okay.
So unfortunately, not at this time.
Okay. Yeah.
Not that it matters. He did not roll a success. So as he's coming towards you, he's still stumbling a little. Almost it feels like his sense of gravity is a bit off, and he swings and misses. Next up is going to be. Ooh, that last one is still not looking very good. The enemy initially, who was bumped into Father Elias, is going to move forward and try to attack Knick. Also, an unarmed strike, having just taken down one of his accomplices, and try a force attack. And they are also not rolling very well, so this one is not fast enough. Knick, you're able to move out of the way, light on your feet without a care in the world. Next up is going to be Martha. And she is now still has one blade in her hand, although she's grasping at. She's going to choose not to hold on to that wound any longer. Take the blade of her hand, and she is going to attempt to stab at the closest thing to her, which is either between Knick or Kasper right now. And I'm just going to roll to the side. It's going to be Kasper. So she's going towards you. She's going to take a close combat attack. There's one success. Did you use a fast action or?
Yeah, I'm gonna try and parry.
Okay, go ahead and make a close combat check.
One success.
Okay, so it's one success versus one success that cancels each other out. So as she moves forward with her dagger and she's stabbing towards you, it's almost like you're expecting, even though exhausted in your current state, and you move out of the way, and her force just takes her and moves right past you. Next up is appropriately Kasper.
I'm gonna try and use her momentum and then my axe and just basically just hug and collide with her. See if that works.
Okay. Close combat.
Oh my god, 3 6s.
3 6. Okay,
Yeah.
So I'm not even gonna bother trying to parry because she would only get 2. With this, as you're going in with the axes, would you like to describe how you end Marta's life?
So while she's charging towards me, I'm just like, and then there's a great man right there. I'm a bad man. And I'm just gonna grab her and sink in that axe, and then basically just hold her tight as I feel her weight she gives into her own weight, and basically just lay her down appropriately and just let her rest.
And as you all see, Marta has now fallen on the ground. That leaves 2 enemies still there, both of them very battered at this point, but still fighting. Next up is going to be Astor.
Okay, I'm going to shoot off another round at this person that's in front of me.
Okay, go ahead and do ranged combat.
1 success.
Okay, and considering they already used their fast action, they cannot react. So would you like to describe the killing shot?
Yep. Astor's still kind of taken back, from that last shot. The ricochet goes by. This guy tries to throw another punch at him, misses, and then just instantly he looks and then just slaps back that hammer, almost like a quick draw, and hits this person right at the forehead as they fall back onto the ground.
It happens. That leaves 1 remaining. Is there anything else on your turn, Astor?
No, that'll be all.
Perfect. Elias.
Okay. I also, I guess, unless Auggie has told me that there is a stone sticking out of the wall, I also would like to make some sort of check to see what I can see in the tunnel.
Absolutely. You can choose between vigilance or investigation.
Investigation. And that is one success.
Right, so also kind of looking in that same direction, not noticing that Augie's already has her focus in the area. And you were looking in the tunnel, is that correct? Not the room?
Or, sorry. Yeah, I'm looking in the room.
Oh, the room. Okay, just wanted to make sure I wasn't misunderstanding. So even though Auggie hasn't quite vocalized their intent for what they're looking for, you also kind of glance around and just notice that at this point, especially with how things are starting to, for lack of a better term, calm down, comparatively speaking, you are noticing there's a very, very clear brick that seems to be stone, like a little bit pushed out.
I turn to Auggie and say, I think I know where the bones are.
Me too.
Yeah. Now that combat is dying down, like how far are we from that brick?
The brick, you're probably only 10 feet from it.
Do I have any action left over to get over there, or?
Yeah, you would have a fast action. You can definitely take movement.
Okay. Then I'm gonna take the movement back in.
Okay, you're able to go over back into that area of the room. Although any type of interaction with it will need to wait for the next round.
Sure. Okay, cool. And that's my turn.
And next up is Auggie.
Seeing that Father Elias is going to head that way, I am also going to use my fast action to get over there and then try to remove the brick.
Okay, perfect. So I would say with this, it's going to be just for the removal of the brick, let's say a force check.
One success.
One success, that's just what you need. So you're able to go over there and start like messing with the stone, and as you start pulling against it, it does eventually get loose, and as you're looking in, dust kind of falling over it, and you have a little bit of a cough. You do see it looking back into it while it's dark. You're seeing what appears to be a bone protruding. I would say that would be your fast and your slow action to get over in there and do that. So next up is going to be Marion.
So, seeing that there isn't much left in terms of the combat, and that we now have 3 very capable individuals, I think Marion would begin to go up use their fast action to go up the tunnel. And get as close, I guess, to Auggie and Father Elias as possible. And then I will just, I guess, survey the situation and just kind of look around and see what's going on and make sure that everyone is okay up here.
Understood. So both Auggie and Father Elias actually entered back into the room where they located that stone. So it won't require too much movement for you. You just kind of shift over to the side. And as you're assessing, like you said, it's pretty much like there's one individual who's still standing amongst the carnage that was this group. But as you're listening, you do feel like you're hearing a faint screech.
Any particular direction?
It sounds like it's coming, like it's echoing down through the tunnel.
Okay. I will let everyone know that. And that will be my turn.
Sharing that information, that gets us to Knick.
What is is this last enemy? Does he have a condition of anything?
He has definitely 2 conditions. He is at this point exhausted and I would say frightened, but he is not looking like he's lasting much longer.
Then I want to take the crowbar and kind of just put it behind his back and kind of like lock him in. And now I want him my hostage.
Ooh, okay. Go ahead and make a. This is gonna be a force check.
Just one.
This one? Okay, that's enough. You're able to essentially go and take his arms behind him as he's essentially rendered incapacitated at this point. And anything else for you?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. This last enemy is looking incredibly rough. They are, well, kind of attempting to break the grapple, not breaking free, and just breathing heavily, and doesn't really appear to be even attempting anything at this point. But that would bring us up to Kasper.
So there's just the one person now?
Yes.
Kasper will do Kasper things. Take a swing.
Okay, well, because he is also grappled at this point by Knick, I would grant you an additional die.
Oh, roll what?
An additional die of close
gotcha.
combat.
Okay. 2?
2? That is more than enough. Would you like to describe how this individual dies?
I guess while being held by Knick, I want to make sure that I'm not going to hit Knick in a weird way. So I'm going to go for a thigh shot. So I don't make sure that I accidentally go for the head and heads get confused. So just straight to the thigh. Something simple. I'm just chopping down a tree. That's it.
Understood. So as you're going over and taking your axe to the meatiest part of this individual's thigh, he cries out in pain. You see kind of blood just gushing out from his leg onto the ground. He goes limp in Knick's arms and takes his last breath. You all are out of combat at this point.
Well, Kasper, I was kind of hoping he would tell us something useful. That's unfortunate.
I'm sorry, I got carried away. I'm really sorry.
Spoken like a true war vet.
Yeah, a little bit. You heard the thing. We gotta get out of. We gotta get out.
I let the body slump down.
Auggie, how do we destroy the bones?
Fire. We need fire. Kasper, give me your torch.
I will throw them the torch because they're a little bit further away, so I'll throw the torch over.
Understood. So, as you are removing the bones from this area of the wall you'd found them stored in, you are able to tell this at one point was a cat. Very small, thin bones. As you lay them in the center of this room, taking the torch and lighting them on fire, you hear a screech, a loud, blood-curdling hiss that is pained. You hear screams of people. You hear the doors above you and what you would know to be the church being broken in. And as things are starting to fall heavily, you're hearing the resounding effects of this church as people are yelling, "It's on fire."
I run back outside.
And does the group follow?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
As the group follows and you eventually do find yourself back in the cemetery, the entire church is up in flames. You see sections of it have already fallen in on itself. You see townspeople standing around it, some crying. You see Ansgar standing by looking in shock.
What happened?
And he looks at you and says, I saw it. The Grim. It ran in and it was on fire and this it's all gone. And he looks up. Where were you? He looks at some of you very visibly wounded at this point still. What happened?
I just point towards the tunnel.
Looks over. And also seeing Wilhelmina also off to the side, just looking up at the church. The group spends the rest of the evening conversing with the townsfolk, trying to put out the fire, the ones who are able to help, which does not last very long, surprisingly. But as you see, the next morning, what was the church is now scorched grounds. It no longer stands. The church grim no longer stands. But the threat is also no longer present. And that's where we're going to end it. Thank you all so much for being a part of this. I really appreciate your time. Thank you to everyone watching still. I know we ran over our expected time frame, so thank you all so much for that. I would really love to just once more give a big shout out to Free League Publishing. Thank you so much for this awesome system and for sponsoring the stream as well and providing us with the materials in order to be able to do this. But very quickly, I would like to just have my players once more. We'll go around, shout out projects you're working on, tell us where we can find you, and if you don't mind also, if you could give me an idea of what the next 6 months look like for your character following this case. Let's start with Hudson.
Yeah, so Astor, after this, probably went and tried to find some more work, probably with his occupation as a servant, but probably also stayed in contact with these group of people because this also helped pay very well. But thank you so much for having me. I'm Hudson Hubbard. You can follow me on Instagram at huddy.hubs. Tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Spot Hidden, we'll be running Octum Cthulhu, which I'm hosting, so we hope to see you there. Thank y'all.
Perfect. And see, next up, let's go, Jess.
Yes, so after this very gruesome encounter, Augie's first encounter, they ask Philomena if they would like to travel along with them. Auggie tells her that they have this dream of seeing the most beautiful places in the world, which I think would entice Philomena to come with them on travels, and that's where they go. But yeah, my name is Jess, and yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. I am at j.rancor on Instagram. I'm not really working on anything right now, but yeah, thanks guys so much.
And let's see, Em?
So Father Elias is actually going to stay in the town to oversee the rebuilding of the new church, as penance for being complicit in burning down the current church. Yes, and he will also very much encourage everybody to confess all of their sins, including the guy who sent us on this journey, who now I can't remember his name, especially that motherfucker. I'm Emily. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Emily Irv, EMILYERV. I am also on the D&D actual play show Second Star of the Right with Bree and Michael, who are here right now. Look at them. Look at these lovely people. We have a show coming up on Friday of this upcoming week. So you can catch us all there. You can also hear me making silly voices anytime at 20-Sided Stories, the tabletop podcast.
Perfect. And Michael.
Hi everyone, my name is Michael Sinclair II. For Kasper, what he's going to do is actually have similar ideas to Auggie, and maybe help be a travel guide, because that's all he does is travel. So
come along.
And I will also bring at the beginning, Niles. We'll also bring Niles with us because he looks like he needs some travel therapy. So we'll also get him out from this area and maybe help with his mental healing. And with that money, probably Kasper would start some sort of like hiking initiative to help everyone with their mental health and through hiking. So that's what he's gonna do. Yep. So, like I said, Michael Sinclair, Michael Crits. That's where you can find me on Twitter. On Twitch, I play Magic the Gathering. I also am a professional TTRPG actor. I'm in lots of things. Just look at my Twitter. Don't want to take any more time. Obviously, I'm in a show with Emily and Brianna. Go check it out. Awesome.
And Royal.
Hey everyone, it is the Royal Tut and playing Knick today. And Knick is like, if you think that Father Elias is like General Kenobi, and then Knick is like Anakin Skywalker, then Philomena would be like Ahsoka. That's how it plays out in my brain. So of course I would stay with Father Elias to help rebuild the town and, you know, console Philomena and hope that she, as Auggie has said, travels with us and grows and learns how to utilize her sight, because I'm assuming that she's also seen the Vaesen.
Unfortunately, now she would now have the sight, yes.
Yeah, though, in that case, then she can be a Jedi like all of us. And yeah, that's where I see the adventure for the next 6 months, taking Knick and Knack. Yeah, Knick and Knack. We gotta get Knack to be braver. That's what I'm trying to accomplish. So yeah, oh, my cat's yowling. So yeah, you can find me on all social media platforms as Royalty You Know Why. And tomorrow, if you're interested, and I hope that you are, and you better be because you're tuning in right now, we're premiering Symbaroum, where I will be playing. And that's all the information that I can give.
Wonderful. But yeah, please do tune in for that. That's going to be an awesome premiere. Super excited for the group. Great storyteller. And clearly, like Royal being a perfect example, we have a good group for it. So next up, but certainly not least, Luke.
Hi, I'm Luke, and I think Marion would probably confess some of their sins and then take the remaining money on the road to build practices and help heal people who are sick along the way, and just continue traveling. And yeah, probably that would take up 6 months, I would say. And I'm Luke, and you can find me at NerdcraftHQ on Instagram and YouTube. And you can find me here on Twitch every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. on the Arcanum, which is a live play Dungeons and Dragons game on twitch.tv/Dungeon Master's Diary.
Fantastic. And well, I was the game master for this evening. My name's Brianna Flame. You can find me on Instagram and on Twitter at Brianna Flame. I'm an organizer for the channel, sometimes game master, and a cast member for Second Star Show, as and Michael have both mentioned. But most importantly, I'm just really honored to have had such a great table tonight. So thank you all for being a great party to go through this new system for the first time. I cannot recommend it highly enough. I've really enjoyed it. And to any viewers watching, this was one of the published adventures from Free League called A Wicked Secret. So there's a lot more to it than we were able to explore today. This would have required several more hours to really get into the meat and the backstory of everything. But I hope you all enjoyed getting a bit of an insight to the system and maybe try it out yourself. But until then, I hope you all have a great night. Bye.